Hey gang, this is Fillmore, just letting you know that if you enjoy our podcast, quite frankly, a Howard Stern podcast, and you'd like to donate some money for the upkeep, or you want to request certain clips, please donate to our Patreon page at patreon.com/JimFix. That's JIMFIXX. You can donate as much as you want for as long as you want. There's absolutely no obligation.
How old are you?
Right now, 54.
And you're going to a psychiatrist 4 days a week?
3 days now.
3 days a week?
Yeah.
I'm 17. I go one fucking time. I'm the guy that's fucked up?
What if I strolled in a girl who's into geeky-looking, Pelican fucking odd guy?
I cared about you.
And she's got a fetish. She's into Pelican.
Bring her in.
And,
so you're saying I look like a pelican?
Yeah, you're saying I'm fat. The whole segment is about... The whole segment is about this hot chick somehow liking an obese, disgusting guy.
Fuck off. You're a fucking asshole.
So why...
I met a great girl.
Okay. The world is full of great girls.
No.
She's hot.
Yes.
She's hot.
Yes.
She talks.
Yes.
She listens.
Good in bed.
She's good in bed.
Right.
Yeah, because that's rare.
Move into Sam's house and get the fuck out of our lives.
Fat fuck.
We'll get Beetlejuice to pick out Howard Schultz.
Get fatter, Artie. There are more of those fucking things.
Beetlejuice will pick out Howard Schultz. You can live with Sam and blow him. What must the rest of your life be like? And
doesn't it remind you? Did you ever see The Twilight Zone with the little kid who wants everyone to be happy, and if they're not, then he kills them?
I think. Well, I don't think you're at that level, but there's a little bit of truth in that. I mean, and look, and again.
When I was a little kid, yeah, he just slowed it down. When I was a little kid, my dad would take me to ball games. I would sit there with my hands over my head. I was so scared of getting hit by a ball. Yeah.
You've been going out with this chick for 2 years?
Yeah. Met at Shabbat dinner. Who is she?
Met at Shabbat.
With Brenda.
Ah, that's brilliant.
Who is she?
She's only the love of your life.
She's Beth. Beth.
Now, wait a minute. I know somebody who knows Beth, but
who is it?
I'm trying to think who it is. Somebody who went to school with her or something.
You didn't hear anything weird, I hope.
No, not something weird. I can't remember now, but it's one of those weird stories. Like, I think she always wanted to be with somebody famous. Was this? Oh, stop!
Man, somebody said that really?
Tell you the truth, man. Here's some guy. That's the problem with radio. Some guy who's managing an automotive parts store is telling you how to do your radio show. Meanwhile, I'm a genius.
Absolutely.
Well, that may be straight. We did teach you how to steal material. That was good.
That was true. You did teach me how to do that.
We're good.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest installment of, quite frankly, a Howard Stern podcast. I'm your host, Fillmore Fingers, a.k.a. Fillmore, a.k.a. Jim Fix. With me, of course, is my wonderful co-host, Sam.
Hi, guys.
And with us for the ride, once again, is our beloved Bob Dee, our expert on all things NPD. How you doing, Bob?
Good. How are you?
Oh, wonderful. Especially now that we got this under, hopefully, technical issues all sorted out, and recording issues are going to be fine, I think, from now on. This particular episode, guys, we decided, we originally were going to make it about Alison and Beth, just in terms of narcissistic personality disorder, or in this case, covert narcissistic personality disorder, as how it relates to his relationships with his two spouses. Past and present. And what happened was we looked at the clips. I looked at the clips and I said, we got too much Alison, but also not enough. So what I decided was we're going to cut it into Alison and then a Beth part at another time, because it's just too much. It's too vast, and the stuff is too good to leave in just a 2-hour or 3-hour episode and divide it. We're going to miss good stuff if we just go half and half. In one episode. So we're going to stretch it out a little bit. Sam, you wanted to say?
I also think, too, it's not because we're just being lazy. It's because the Beth stuff is so vastly different than the Alison stuff. Mm-hmm. If we want to give it any sort of credence or put a good amount of effort into it, it's going to require 2 parts.
That's right. At least. I mean, we're not trying to pad it out like the Manhattan phone book to make it appear bigger or make it. We just want to make sure we do it justice. So to lead things off, we go back to our favorite, or one of our favorite doctors on the internet, Dr. Todd Grande, and he's got a clip called "The 10 Signs of Vulnerable." Sorry, I'm going to try this again. The 10 signs of vulnerable narcissistic abuse. And the first sign, as I've clipped them, is called self-victimization, which you hear a lot in Howard from countless clips. So here's Dr. Todd Grande.
So the first sign of vulnerable narcissistic abuse is in a romantic relationship. Again, I'm talking about a heterosexual romantic relationship, where we see that somebody starts arguments in which they portray themselves as the victim when the evidence doesn't really support that they're the victim. And kind of another aspect of this sign is kind of playing the victim from something that happened a long time ago. So maybe the vulnerable narcissist was legitimately a victim, but it happened like 10, 20, 30 years ago, the victimization, and they bring it up kind of as if it's a current issue.
Doesn't this describe him talking about during this whole week, Sam, you listened regularly to the show.
Unfortunately.
About his parents' shit and how they didn't teach him, like Ben didn't teach him how to do this, and it's his fault, and then Ray's fault for doing this. Everything's someone else's fault.
It was such a conundrum because this week was upset about Ray, how she is on the phone with him and how everything's a travesty and he feels like he has to solve all her problems. But thank God for this Dr. Todd Thank God for this Dr. Schlossman or whatever
Dr.
his name was.
Schlossnick.
Yeah, whatever.
Schlossnick, whatever his fucking name is.
Yeah, thank God for him, because then he doesn't have to deal with his mother. But then he also somewhat resented the fact that the doctor got the attention for being so important in her life. It was like, pick a narrative, fucker.
His NPD it's really out of control now. I mean, it is like completely, looking back on a lot of these clips, he seems a lot more well-adjusted, even though he's a complete mess. But when you hear him now, I mean, there is no filter for his personality disorder at all. It is on full display.
So, Bob, in your estimation, would you say it was always bad, but he had, I don't know, breakers on him back in the day to sort of stem the extent of it, or to hide or mask how bad it was?
Yeah. I think he had more controls, more self-control, possibly a little bit more self-awareness, and I think as people really embrace their celebrity, and as that goes on, a lot of those filters come down for people in general. Mm-hmm. So let alone someone that did have a full-blown personality disorder, I think he's just more comfortable because he is at a point of power now. He has some serious wealth, and he probably has a lot of pull in the companies, that he's involved in. I guess it's just serious right now, but
yeah, and he doesn't really answer to anybody, including his spouse, especially his spouse. Sam, you wanted to say?
Okay, so a two-prong thought. One, what were the buffers that, or at least the brake pads that he had back then to kind of alleviate such full force of this personality disorder? Like right now, I mean, when he was talking about Regis dying, that to me was, again, like the Kobe Bryant thing. It was out of control this week with how crazy narcissistic it was in just terms of how you think of someone's death. And then two, as we move, like you said, towards this more narcissistic society where we have, everyone can have a platform, everyone can be somewhat their own virtual superstar, so to speak. How does that affect a classic narcissist who has had this type of personality disorder before internet, before this self-aggrandizing type of climate? And take your time.
I think I think it's not so much in Howard's case that he, the self-made superstar, everybody's a superstar now. I think what really kind of validates Howard and what I do see going on in society is this just constant victimization of everybody. Everybody can find a certain lane to validate their victimization. It doesn't really matter who you are or what the situation is. There's this almost like mass coddling that's going on And
Right
I don't mean
expression.
to sound like hard-hearted. I'm not one of these old school guys where it's, don't share your feelings or whatever. But I do think that there is a lot of, I guess, not a lot of accountability.
Enabling too, absolutely.
So you don't think that the climate of like how it's changed from then has an effect on his personal NPD?
Oh no, I think it does dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it has a profound effect because he's trying to attach himself to all these different victimized groups. From what I can tell, in listening to him.
Okay. We'll play the rest of Dr. Todd, and then we'll continue with our first clip.
So we see a tendency here to be unforgiving, right? Little things just can't be released. They can't let the little things go. And this is interesting because it's kind of consistent with paranoid personality disorder. It has kind of a few features of that disorder. Now we know when we look at vulnerable narcissism, if we take it to an extreme, there isn't a clear pathology aligned with it like there is with grandiose narcissism. With grandiose narcissism, we see narcissistic personality disorder at the extreme. With vulnerable narcissism, we really don't see that, but we see certain symptoms of certain disorders seem to be present. And this one, as I mentioned, seems to align with paranoid personality disorder.
Yes, Sam.
Is there any biological factor for a paranoid personality disorder that can spring into NPD, or is there any biological factors for either?
With paranoia, you usually see, I believe it's really high levels of histamine in the brain. As far as what any kind of pathology or biological makeup of someone with NPD, the best that they have is you do see some reduced blood flow to the prefrontal lobe, which is also what you see in people with psychopaths. But I personally believe that NPD has to do with blood flow to the brain and carrying oxygen and nutrients to the brain, because if there is any kind of barrier to that, the brain will start to adapt and rewire itself towards survival mode. And that's sort of what I believe NPD is in a way. It's a rewiring of the brain for this just sort of emotionally based thinking survival mode constantly.
Cool.
Thank you.
Now,
sorry. I was just going to go through there's only 20 seconds left on that clip, so we just wanted to, I know that some of them are longer, some of them are shorter.
This first sign, I'm going to introduce the idea of the dark cloud, which is kind of one of my theories about vulnerable narcissism, and it ties to several of the signs of vulnerable narcissistic abuse. But here, the unforgiving nature would be just one aspect of the dark cloud that I'll talk about again with some of these other signs.
Okay, so that's the end of the first clip. Now we're going to go into a clip that's from 1994, June 29th of 1994, and it was mostly all about Howard and Alison's sex life, or lack thereof at the time. And it's a fascinating clip if you listen to it. Understand, guys, there are older clips we can go into, but the more telling Alison clips are closer to the divorce and the bigger he gets than instead of earlier on. But we have ones from there as well, and even later, that betray his relationship with him and his kids and his wife at the time. So this first one is called number 1. Wig thinks famous guys should be entitled to strange.
Is there no such thing as true love?
Yeah, I'm in love with my wife. It's just it would be nice to sample some of the goods.
See, how come women don't think, like, I think that you deserve a medal?
Right.
For doing what you did.
Oh, absolutely.
No, women think that
quite frankly, that's what he's supposed to do.
The reason I deserve a medal
I'll give you a medal.
is because
it's harder for you as a man.
Let's put it this way. If I never became famous and I was just, some dude.
Right.
Alison would deserve the medal.
Yeah. And you would go, wow, she's kind of cute. Why is she with him? What does she possibly see in him? He's such a loser. And she's cute. She could have had some really good guy.
Okay, I'm going to continue playing that one, but that was just like to get the 30 seconds down. It's actually a little more than 30 seconds. But Sam, yeah?
Okay, so in 1994, how old is he? He is...
Hold on. 40. Oh, Jesus. Now this is gonna bother me.
Well, what year was he born?
In 2002, he's 50. So let's do the math. 8 years.
8.
So 42. He's a little early 40s.
Okay.
Yeah, at least. So.
Oh, sorry, how superficial does that argument, let alone set aside the NPD, how superficial does it sound to put it, your wife who has children with you and a family in those terms of, well, if she was better looking and I wasn't famous, then poor her. But if I'm famous and she's just regular, then poor me. I mean, this is such a terrible parameter.
Was it, Bob, was it you that wanted to use this clip specifically? I think it was you that recommended this one, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. It might have, if it gets into the sex stuff, probably, but I don't know about that.
This is the sex stuff, absolutely. But this, and I just clipped the stuff where it was pertinent, because every now and then these clips, there's 40, 50 seconds of caller bullshit that we have to put up with. But you're right, Sam. It is funny because he's starting to, he's just come out with, I think, 1994. The first book has just come out, and he's starting to get bigger. He's becoming more national. And he's probably signed the New Line, not New Line, but he's trying to get Fart Man made. So he's feeling his oats. He's feeling like, okay, now I'm getting bigger. He's not Howard Stern capital letters just yet, but he's pretty big, and he's getting bigger. And,
but regardless, you're in your 40s, and this vapid train of thought in relationships is actually disturbing. Like that, I don't even think I thought of this in late high school of relationships. I'm not even joking.
Yeah,
be underdeveloped for sure.
Yeah, totally. What do you call it? No, I was going to say regressed, but he just totally stunted at high school level, and never ever fucking grew past a certain level emotionally, mentally, in terms of his desirability. Part of that maybe stems from the fact that he's so fucking hideous and never believed he was good looking. And so this validates him, right? All these hot women that are famous, he's famous, they're clinging on to him, like Amy Lynn back in the day, and Tempest, and all these strippers that he would have come in, and Penthouse Pets. But it just feeds his, what is it, narcissistic supply? Was that the expression?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And when that starts to become really potent, it'll kind of send them into a mania.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they have bipolar swings based on the amount of supply and quality of supply that they have.
Wow.
Even JD this week, he was saying how he's had JD come in and he said, tell everyone what you thought about Regis and how you admired him and how you thought he was funny. And he, drilled him about that. And then he said, nobody would even want to hang out with you in high school. And now look, because of this show, you have people who want to hang out with you and go to your wedding and do this stuff. Like,
wow.
That's his, that's the vapidness that continues even in his fucking 70s.
He's going to be 70 in a couple years. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's not too dissimilar from the last episode. You remember, Bob, we were talking about the Hurricane Sandy stuff. And then he was saying about how hype bitch Mike, like, you know what, dude, when you've done this, then you can criticize me, when you've, learned how to keep an audience and all this bullshit. And it's so like strangely childish in a way.
Yeah.
That you don't expect this from an adult.
I think kind of when I say these things, maybe it seems like I'm trying to make them fit with NPD, but that's actually very common in NPD. They're emotionally underdeveloped. They're usually immature and not terribly self-aware. You see that quite a bit. I mean, it's actually very prevalent in people that have NPD.
Mm-hmm. Let's finish this clip or try our best.
He's lucky to have her. Unfortunately, I've got, Amy Lynn in my room in Cleveland. I'm giving her a massage to this song, wherever it is. Where's my hammer song?
Where's your song?
My hammer song around? Oh, okay. Let me play hammer.
Remember when you were young?
I think I'm the only guy playing this, but It's my song with Amy.
Hey, it's all good.
Yeah, and I'm playing, this CD player.
I don't see why it's not a hit. It's actually a very funny, fun song.
This CD player is such a piece of garbage.
Now, if you didn't know the age of the fucking clip, you'd know it from that Hammer reference. Yes, Sam, sorry.
I never knew where Robin stood with any of this. It's so flippant. She always seems to be on one or the other side at any moment, and it never actually. I can't ever pigeonhole her into a position. Sometimes it's clear, but then other times, like in this clip where she said in the beginning, "Oh, I'll something with that medal or whatever. I'll give you a medal." Like she seems to be on Alison's side, and then all of a sudden, now we're talking about the Hammer and the song. She's like, "Oh yeah, let's let it play, and this is your song with her."
Well,
like what? I mean, where are you standing on this?
It's funny you mentioned that, Sam, because in the one clip we're going to play later, the larger clip, she totally takes Howard's side in the what we know is the divorce, because they're completely on the outs, the Jingle Ball stuff, and when you hear it, you can absolutely hear her trying to placate and assuage his ego and his sense of being her, because she knows Alison's right in that situation and that he's being a dick, but she cannot. And even Gary's going to great pains to say, "Oh, I wouldn't do that because I know it bothers you," not because it's incorrect. Like I wouldn't do it because it's the wrong thing to do. It's gonna bother him. So she's trying to what was it? Like Ablo said, taking his temperature constantly and trying to figure out, how do I stay on his good side? It's almost like playing the game with the narcissist, so you don't have to get into their games, into their the way they want to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's get through this clip, as boring as it is.
I can't even begin to tell you. This is a radio station, no less. There it is. So I'm in my room massaging a penthouse pet. It's like, whoa, dude. And I've been with the same woman years.
Yeah.
I keep hearing you say that like that's some big deal.
I can't wait to start the dance party. I'm ready to move.
Why is 20 years the big deal with you?
Well, it's just that, like, I have this endless bevy of women coming around saying they want to have sex with me. That girl Heather, and they're all saying they want to have sex with me, and it's like, that's every dream come true.
Ready, guys, with clip number 2, rather. Wig thinks Alison wants other men, which I'm sure is just projection because he wants other men, but we can go through it.
Or who wouldn't? Fucking with this Froja who fucking basically dresses like a poser grunge loser.
It's incredible.
True.
You climb into bed.
Yeah, I know. I have a woman who loves me. I know.
You know that she would be there.
Well, that's why I'm with her.
Regardless.
Well, that's why I'm there with her.
But that's not the point. Why do you devalue it?
Because I don't devalue it. Otherwise, I'd be cheating. If I devalued it, I'd be a cheater, a guy who goes around having sex.
I think you devalue it even having the desire.
Yeah, well, I can't help myself. I'm just human.
And besides, I
just can't help myself. Right. I have these thoughts. I do think about the fact that I could be having sex with other women, and I don't mean just some housefrau.
How would you feel?
Okay, I'm going to keep going. That's the 30-second part.
If your wife had these problems?
Bad.
Do you think Alison fantasizes about other guys?
I do.
No.
I do. I'll tell you why.
Wow, that was fast.
Yeah.
Horny, we'll have sex once every 3 weeks. So she's got to be thinking about, there's got to be a reason she's not that anxious to hop in the sack with me.
Now, he throws that on her, but as we're going to hear, she totally turns it on him and says he's not the one initiating it. He's not the one doing it. And I mean, yeah, if you're with someone 20 years, I could imagine it gets a little fucking stale. You might be looking for, I don't know, whatever. But again, she catches him in a lie. Sam.
See, I can't comment on what I would feel like with somebody 20 years because I've never made it to that mark. But I can say, being with somebody past 5 years, he seems like it's something that she's doing, but it's not. He's lying. He's tired. He wants to go to sleep. He needs his fucking room a certain way. He needs it quiet a certain way. He doesn't. He needs toys to even get her off. Yeah. I mean, So I don't understand why he complains about this. Like there's not, obviously it can be disproven in 2 seconds, which we'll see.
Yeah, he needs his beauty coma. The next clip is called "Claims He Doesn't Devalue Alison." But before we do, Bob, you'd like to say something?
You know, I sort of, when I listen to that, I get this kind of like manic thing that's going on with him, and I get that there's a paradigm change going on. I almost feel like he's saying these things to try to get someone to go like, dude, you should do that. You should go for that. Like, you should start to, like, it's almost like he's just throwing it out there. Like, hey, what do you guys think? Like, I've got all these women wanting to, like, he's throwing out all the justifications that he's probably trying to use in his mind right now to cross that line of actually having an affair.
Well, just like Robin said, the value, you're not valuing the relationship for what it should be valued as, and he thinks that it's being valued because he's not cheating. That's the only bar set for being a good person in a relationship for him, which is nonsense.
But he could easily justify it. I'm sorry to cut you before I not cut you off, but I don't know, cock block you for a second there, Bob. The thing is, he at that point could probably have justified, well, look, I'm getting blown, but I'm not fucking them. I'm getting massages. Like, it's not too far to
It's
reach.
a different area code.
Yeah, for him to start saying, like, well, to justify that and leading up to absolutely getting fucked by someone else or fucking someone else, and using that as like, well, you know, it was a natural progression. I could see him totally justifying lesser kinds of cheating, shall we say, if that even is a thing. You know, like the whole Bill Clinton thing, define sex, define relations. But at the same time, yeah, you're right, Sam. You can hear in his voice, Bob, you're correct as well. You hear him trying to like test the waters. Let's see if I can throw the buoy out there. Pardon the expression.
He's trying to justify You're right. He's trying to restructure how and what is okay.
Yeah, parameters
in his marriage. He's trying to restructure the marriage
by
throwing it out there. You're right.
Yeah, Bob, sorry.
One thing, though, that I've brought up a couple times on the past shows, and what was so telling there that rang my bell is there was a very key word used, and it was devaluement. And remember that NPD's relationships always go through a cycle of idealization, devaluement, and discard. It always follows that cycle. So here we have Howard starting to enter, at least in a more aggressive fashion, into the devaluement stage. So he's really going to make a play here before he takes the leap for abandonment. So, you know, here we start to have the devaluement start to take place. Oh, she's probably wanting to cheat too. Like, just devaluing what they have. She's thinking about other men, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you're saying that about, if I were to say that about, you know, my girlfriend, it would be sort of saying like, we're not that serious, or what we have isn't that special. It's like, oh yeah, she's thinking about other guys. And
Sam?
In this devaluement phase, if there's children involved, does someone with NPD even factor this into the equation, or are they just a complete separate entity that are kind of piggybacked on the relationship?
Yeah, it's you. They just sort of always wind up being neglected, and that is from what I normally see. It's just sort of because it's always about them, right? So they'll justify it in some kind of way. It's just, he'll say something, it was just the right thing for us to do. Would have been better for the kids, if, you know, for us to be apart. That's usually how they'll justify things. But he probably doesn't care how they feel in this whole matter.
Okay, so that just answered my question. So I was going to say, so do you think it even factors in his brain while he's speaking like this, their feelings, or how this may futurely affect them if they should so listen to this?
At his core, he doesn't. He might worry about how it looks to other people because they always see themselves through other people. But he himself, I would doubt he cares at all.
Yeah. I agree. And the fact is this is the same guy who in his own book talks about how he won't let his wife take a shower and watch the kids in that time because he says, hire a fucking army of nursemaids, whatever. I didn't agree to have this third kid, if I have to fucking put up with this shit. So there's the father of the year. We'll play some of that father stuff a little later too. Clem, and this is ironically enough, clip number 3 claims he doesn't devalue Alison.
Hey.
You think she's up to no good, in her mind?
Yes. She would like to have sex with other guys. She just can't admit it to herself. Because let's face it, she knows me for what I am. I'm the jerk she married.
Wait a minute.
I'm the big ugly gork she married.
I don't believe you.
Even though you've developed, your look and your personality.
She tells me all the time I look really good, my body looks good, the whole...
Now, if that's true, Alison's doing that because she knows he's a mess of neuroses and he needs to hear that as validation because she knows he looks like shit. But this is how you control the narcissist a little bit. Yes, Sam?
He still, to this day, in his late 60s, said he earned his look. And he gets upset when people have a cool look that didn't earn it by radio ratings. Like, so you earned your look because you were number 1 on the radio? What the fuck are you talking about?
He bought and paid for his look.
I think he's just starting to blame her for whatever he's about to do.
Yeah.
She should know. She married this gork or whatever he just called himself. This is on her.
You're right. Like, you were the same person you were at BU when you were, or a camp counselor trying to fuck you were fucking so much you had to get called into the camp office. I mean, come the fuck on.
Okay. 20 seconds left.
But she doesn't hop on me and go, oh, but she's not a real horny woman anyway. She never really was.
She's not that kind of a girl.
Yeah, she's no whore.
Oh, geez.
I need a whore.
But what I'm saying is that I have seen Alison and I've watched her face when she talks about you.
Yeah, she's very high on me.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and she really loves me. She talked about me like that when I was a bum. So I do value that. I don't devalue.
Well, he would only value it in the sense that it feeds his ego, but he doesn't actually take it. He only takes it seriously insofar that it can help him, but he doesn't actually internalize it. He knows he looks like a piece of shit. Sam.
And then we have the Madonna Complex, where it's you want your wife to be sexual and you want your wife to fuck you, but she's a whore if she likes sex, and she's not a whore. But I want a whore. I mean, I hate everything about this.
That is obnoxious. So the next clip, number 4, doesn't like Alison listening to his show.
You're not supposed to be listening at this time.
I know, I can't.
What are you doing?
I woke up.
Turn off the radio.
Oh, how?
I hate when my wife listens to the radio because she monitors it and
She's not a listener.
And then I come home and I get lectured and it makes me uptight. You know what I mean? And it's just like I don't want to be spied on.
Oh my God.
She spies on me all through the house. She has every friggin' radio turned on. Listen to this. She's got a trainer now. She works out with weights and stuff.
Yeah.
The trainer comes over and 100% of the guy's clients work out to music.
Right.
She has me on. and even he's like, you listen to me.
Does this help you with exercise?
How do you exercise to a talk show? How do you exercise to a talk show?
To me, that sounded a lot like Alison doing the research for when she's eventually going to fucking hand him a divorce, divorce papers. I mean, she's not a stupid. She eventually wised up enough to fucking hand him those papers. Sam.
Who thinks that listening to their husband's radio show, which is the number 1 radio show, is spying, unless you're a complete dolt.
Well, I mean, some of it could be shtick, but it's as we get closer to the later years, like the later years of their marriage, it's not shtick. Like, he really does not want her hearing that shit, and he expects her not to. Because that is really him. That's really the as true as you're going to get from him is going to be on the show. And he's admitted it many, many times. We'll play a couple clips to, support that. Sam.
Bob, what do you think when he says that about, I don't like that you're spying on me by listening?
I think it tells me that there's an inauthentic relationship or persona that he's giving her behind closed doors, and I think he doesn't want her to start making certain connections. I could be, I don't know, I could be reaching there, but they're always trying to hide. He still might have her conned even after all those years to a certain degree, but maybe he doesn't want her making certain connections at this point, whether it's devious things he's doing or personality flaws that he's been keeping from her, but I'm not really sure.
That is a perfect time to break up that clip with the Brian Linehan clip, which we played on an earlier show, in which he talks about lying, openly lying to his wife about who and what he is.
You're more actor's studio than most of the people we talk about and interview about acting. And that's why when you go home, you go to the basement and you don't want to go out. You look at videos.
Well, I disagree with one thing that you said. The acting occurs in my real life when I'm off mic. I know when I'm on mic, that's the real me. I know it. That's the man that is in my head that wants to get out. And I know that right now you're having an internal dialogue in your head. I'm having an internal dialogue. That's who we really are. And when I get on that mic, I know that's really me. When I go home, when I'm with my boss, whatever it is I'm doing the rest of the day, I feel like I'm a hypocrite and a liar. I feel like I'm not telling the truth. I feel like I'm acting there. So if I am a good actor, I'm acting 20 hours a day. It's 4 hours a day that I'm not. And that is weird to say, and that is a dichotomy. In fact, my wife often says I'm living with two different people. And Mary McCormick, who played my wife, said, think about this woman's life. She lives with this one guy. I can go on the air, and I can tell my audience that I pleasure myself at night. I then go home to my wife. My wife hears the radio show, and she says, tell me something. Do you really do this at night? Do you please yourself sexually? I go, no, I don't. I'm lying to her. She goes, but I heard you say on the radio. I go, oh, I was lying to my audience. I go on, now I'm telling the truth to my audience, but I'm play acting in front of my wife. And then it gets weird. If she saw this interview we were doing, she says, wait a second, you just told that guy you do pleasure yourself. Then she said, wait a second, are you doing it? I go, no, honey, I'm not. So it's like we have to hide everything in real life. And that radio show is so liberating and free that that's where reality is for me.
Yes, Sam, you wanted to say.
I think, first of all, blown away by that every time I hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Great job for Brian Linehan, by the way, and that Hail Mary interview.
Yeah.
But to
Rest
save
in
private
peace.
parts, which didn't. But aside from that, I think that his example of I masturbate and I lie is just a small dichotomy of what he was saying is. That's just a personification of just like one little fraction of what he's talking about when he says he's one way and how freeing the radio show is and how much he's lying. I think that's the pimple
tip of the iceberg
that's
Well,
nothing.
Well, absolutely. To me, the way that sounded to me was him coming out of the closet to a fellow gay man. And Brian Linehan was out. He's long since deceased, but I don't know that there's any truth to that, and Bob will disagree with me. But either way, you can hear him. We did that whole sort of analysis of how he speaks. He can't even finish a sentence in that last 30 or 40 seconds of the clip. He's so befuddled. He's so he's starting and stopping many sentences, getting to some point, trying to make his point that he lies about everything in his life to his wife about who he is and what he does. That Sam's right. Why wouldn't it apply to larger aspects of his personality and larger aspects of his life?
And doesn't
Bob,
it seem so deeper? Doesn't it seem so much deeper that how he started that, and then it seems like he realized, and Brian realized, wow, there's a bigger picture. There's a deeper story here that I'm pulling out right now. And then all of a sudden he reels it back in by giving that non-story about masturbation.
Bob, what do you think about that clip?
So I think it goes with what I said just prior to it. The thing in psychology, or the nature of either, trying to brainwash someone you're close to, or an audience or friends. The thing about lies is they need to be repetitious. It's a lot of energy to keep them up. The thing is once you start to see the truth, and you just see the truth once, it's very potent, and you're able to start to connect a lot of dots. Like when Howard would bring Beth out, and it was always, you guys have this perfect relationship, this just constant lie. It's literally like a mantra. like a brainwashing mantra. If you look at any
I'm perfect for him.
social, exactly. But the second that we saw that interview with Keith Ablow's, like, that hit home really quick, and that whole thing came down really fast.
Yeah, it was,
so when you're trying to maintain a false image with somebody, or it needs constant lies, and I think maybe he didn't want Alison listening, because you'll start to make connections, at the house, and then you'll start seeing body language. You'll start noticing certain patterns, and yeah.
But what do you think? What do you think, though, specifically is going on in this exchange? Where, to me, it sounds like Fillmore said there is some depth to what he was saying about this.
I think he's telling the complete truth. And
what do you think it's in reference to? What do you think is this whole separate part?
The false. Well, it could be the false self, or the identity that he uses to hide. See, when he's on a microphone, he has plausible deniability through the roof. It's like when someone's drunk. Oh, I didn't mean that. I was just drunk. When he's on the mic, oh, it's just for the show. It's exactly what he just said in the interview. I can just say, oh, no, I'm lying to my audience. So, see, they're always looking for an area of plausible deniability at all times, whenever they're taking any kind of action. I think he's just telling the truth here. I mean, this is exactly how I think he is. I do think that he's a fraud in real life and on the mic, because he has this plausible deniability. That's the real him.
Do you think in recent shows, and of course in the bevy of homoerotic nonsense that's happened throughout the years, and what Fillmore was saying, do you think that there's any credence to that duality that Fillmore had spoken about?
That he's gay?
Yeah, well, like that, maybe that was part of it, and that Brian Linehan recognized some sort of...
Like, you drew it out of him like you got the tuna in the net. You got a dolphin in the net. You didn't expect. In this case, you got a cocksmoker.
I think when Howard is... I think when he's talking to guys about their dicks or whatever it is, the thing that we continuously point out is he constantly communicates in projection. So I think that it's almost like the way we think, if someone won the lottery, we start thinking about all the stuff we would do with the money, right? We start projecting like, oh, I get this car, I quit my job. I think when he sees these attractive men, which he clearly has insecurities with, and he likes to start fantasizing about what he would do if he was them, the way he would exploit people, the way he would...
Okay, so you guys are relatively attractive. Do you guys think about how many ways Orlando Bloom's cock can chub up and make you happy? I mean, I don't know.
No, because I don't project like that. I don't...
Yeah, I mean, guys are concerned about self-image. Absolutely. They want to look, they might go, I'd love to have the physique of so-and-so, or I'd love to have the hairline of so-and-so, but they never go, man, look at the cock on that guy. I mean, there's not like you're going to change it. I mean, and you wouldn't ogle it the way he has so clearly done over the years. He's fucking craving it anyway. Let's keep going, because we got a shitload of clips. Number 5 is lack of sex desire in the marriage and zero communication. And this is really important, because it's something that you'll hear in that later clip, really, really in earnest.
She oh boy, she runs a tight ship over there, my wife. Oh yeah.
Oh my.
But Alison, you're not you're not like a real horny girl.
I am, Howard. You not a horny guy.
No, what he means.
By the way, that just got spit right out.
Okay.
I mean, do things.
He's impossible to jump on. First of all.
No, I'm very devoted to my work.
Oh, you're fresh.
Oh, that's exactly what it is. He's completely immersed in his work, or farting.
Oh.
Farting.
In other words, anything he can do to be a complete turnoff at any moment, so that she's not even interested, and he's clearly not interested. Yes, Sam.
that response of hers was, I haven't been fucked well or even approached to be fucked in so long. That's a response like snap, snap, not even a breath before he finished his statement. So you know she's not lying.
Right.
Yeah.
The turkey baster that produced Ashley was more like effective at pleasing her than him. So they're going to continue with this.
It's hard to jump. Howard, you got to admit, it's hard to jump on something. And then Saturday night, you don't know what I had to go through.
He was sort of telling me.
Yeah, we had a real bad scene in my house Saturday night.
God.
She said she wants to make love. It was 11:30 at night. I was exhausted.
Well, it started off around 11.
Who is that exhausted if you want to have sex? I'm sorry. That's such bullshit.
Well, yeah, but I've fucking turned it down if I was really exhausted. But at that point, I'd already been fallen asleep. I didn't even have the energy to turn it down. I just fell asleep. At that point, you don't. But he's clearly given indications that he doesn't want it. That's it. That's all there is to it. Bob, do you hear anything different in this?
I don't know.
Okay.
And I was just.
But he's up for belly shaving though.
Belly shaving, amongst other things.
I was basically asleep. I had already put in my eye cream.
You're so attractive.
I know. And I was laying there, and I go, so I say to her, so do something to me, get me in the mood. What do you think? Why do I always have to be the initiator? So she starts yelling at me. You don't want it. You don't want me. Blah blah blah. I say, sure, I want you. I said, but get me in the mood a little bit.
No, you don't.
Do something. Fiddle around with me.
You must have said that in your head.
Oh, he never said that?
Oh, I swear, he never even said it.
No, you know what I do? I spread my legs and I lay there and wait for you to touch me.
No, you kept saying to me,
and she never puts her hand down my pants.
He says, I'm so tired. I'm so tired.
I was exhausted.
So I said, Howard.
It's not that I didn't want to make love.
You know what? And when she tries to be sympathetic, then you say she doesn't want you.
Right, exactly.
You think about other guys, right?
Okay, now he's trying to. A couple things are going on here. Number one, you believe her when she says he doesn't communicate any of that. He never says that. It's just him saying, I'm tired. But then when he starts asking,
Bob said the victim.
Yes, and you think about other guys. Thereby, well, if she does it, it's fine for me to think about other guys or other girls, as the case may be, other women, shall we say, girls that sound a little pedo-ish. But no, what I'm saying, he's trying his best to weasel out of being a responsible person.
Exactly.
Bob, does that?
He doesn't want the responsibility. What else does he want? He doesn't. I don't want to get this going. I don't want to. You get it going. I got my legs open. You get it going. You do it. Like, you make it happen. Like, he doesn't want to be responsible for anything. He just.
Why does he have his legs open? Why does he have his legs open? I don't quite get that.
Can you imagine? I mean, like, what first of all, he didn't have his legs open. She's like, you said you were tired. He goes, you know what I do. I have my legs open. You didn't. You were tired. Oh, yeah, I was so tired. Oh, so you just lied. You didn't do anything.
Clip number 6, Alison complains about the extreme amount of effort she needs to get sex from him.
I don't know what it was, but it was intense. And I was really going at it.
Yeah, but you're all talk. You're unbelievable.
Oh, what are you talking about? You saw colors. You had, how many orgasms did you have? Saturday night.
No, I'm saying.
How many did you have? Go ahead. Come on, brag a little for me.
I might have had a couple, but.
I might have had a couple. Boy, that sounds convincing.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah. She had a couple.
Might have.
Yeah, she had a few.
But you put me through. He takes all the.
Okay, so anyways, this is the last bit of that clip, which I think is the second last part. He says that Alison, if they got divorced, she would marry a loser and lose all her money if they got divorced.
Oh, if my wife had to get remarried, she would pick a big loser.
Well, Jackie would fit that bill.
Oh, that's right. Okay, there you go.
How could you say I would pick a big loser?
I just know you would I just know.
Absolutely not.
Just to irritate you.
So yeah, some guy would swindle her out all her money.
Now listen,
Beth.
I was going to say, now look at it's funny in retrospect because she's still married to this guy that she married a year after they got separated, or maybe the year they got divorced. Not even that long. It was pretty quick after the separation, and he meanwhile picked up with a fucking bimba, as she talks about later.
He was successful, and his name was David Simon, and he was successful before Alison's divorce settlement long before.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you what did you hear in that particular first bit, Bob? It's only 20 seconds in, but
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get a ton out of it. I just think that that's a really bizarre thing to say to your wife. Like, it sort of reminds me of the abandonment talk. Like, if you left me, you just pick a fucking 0 and you'd have nothing. So you got to stay with,
exactly.
Stuff.
Making it easier, trying to make it easier for her to decide to stay in the sort of abusive relationship she's in now, mentally abusive.
Exactly. Yeah.
I, as a girl, just hear how awful the sex is. Like, just fucking, come on, how good, tell everyone how good it is. I might have had,
couple.
It sounds fucking terrible.
Yeah, well, you can imagine. Could you imagine getting wet for him?
I know it. My poor kids.
And you'd constantly be there propping him up, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
No, if I got a divorce from Alison, within 2 weeks I'll corrupt this whole show. Because I would be throwing parties.
Oh, God, Mr. Social.
Yeah, like the Goo Goo Dolls gay dance party.
Yeah, how was that magic show at your New Year's Eve party where everyone had to leave at midnight? Loser.
They were bored.
Abracadabra, poof, everyone get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out, exactly.
Oh, I'd be Mr.
This
Social.
is why I'm saying he's in a dream world, and all those guys who dump their girls thinking he's going to have a party every
Fred
week are
knows.
going to be sadly mistaken.
Ronnie already told me he'd divorce his wife.
Sure.
Okay, so there's the next clip we're going to play is Wig makes Alison cry on the way to a concert. So this is about the Rainforest Concert. I think also 97. I'm not 100% sure. And the kids are, he's made her fucking weep in the house to the point where she's clearly been seen like composing herself or what have you. And then arguing on the way in like a limo ride all the way to a concert to meet people. And they're late getting there. Yes, Sam, you wanted to say.
Is this the one, the Rainforest Concert where like Trudy, Sting's wife, made that like pretentious speech?
Oh, possibly.
That they mocked.
I think Sting was definitely there. I mean, that Rainforest, that fucking alarm bells just go off. Every vegan musician, like Annie DeFranco, if she was of age, then she would have played at this piece of shit concert. But yeah, like there would be no testosterone at this fucking concert. There wouldn't be a single electric guitar at this concert. So let's see. Jackson Brown, probably. Like things that make you just lose your heart on instantly.
Fucking armpit hair.
Yeah, absolutely. Like not a fucking shoe in the house. So it's like Birkenstocks. There's more cork than a fucking wine cellar. Anyway, so it's a 2.5 minute clip, so we will have to stop it. It's part of a longer clip, but not a very long clip to begin with.
I don't know. We just got, you know what it is? I didn't want to go to the Rainforest Concert in the first place.
Oh.
So that's why I was irritable, and I didn't want to get dressed up. I hate getting dressed up, and I know it seems trivial, but you get into fights over trivial things. And, well, it was real ugly. Couldn't even have a good time at that lovely affair.
Oh.
Okay, yes, Sam.
I hate getting dressed up, yet I hired this grifter with fucking tooth decay and underage to style me.
Parking lot attendant from Jersey, Bridge and Tunnel, half a fag from New Jersey.
I hate getting dressed up.
And it was a real good concert. I was shocked how good it was.
I told you.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah,
I had a really good time.
Excellent night.
So we go to the Rainforest Concert, and we were fighting the whole way there, and,
In the car?
No, in the car we shut up because we were in front of the driver.
I see.
But we didn't really know, and it's not comfortable fighting in front of a guy you don't know. I'm like, shh. You think
I wonder where the hell was Ronnie when this was going on? If he doesn't know this person last minute, I suppose Ronnie was probably at scores going, yeah,
There
go ahead.
goes Bob's point, right? About
What?
you only care about what people see.
Yeah. Let's keep going.
And here we're fighting.
I mean, do you sit next to each other?
Yeah. It was really bad. She was crying right into the car, and the kids were yelling at me because, she was all upset with me because I was being particularly vicious.
You mean she's really tears? We're coming out of
Well,
our eyes?
if I said the things to you, I can make you cry in 3 seconds.
Okay, yes, Sam.
Bob, what are some of the more vicious things NPD people do that might be different than, I don't know, how regular people fight?
They don't play by the rules. They've already mapped out. They're already thinking about your vulnerabilities and what can hurt you before you even realize, like, I didn't even know we had a problem or that was on the table. It's almost like they have a full game plan. And you'll see that with him time and time again, like when he'll bring someone in the studio, or when he got Alison, we'll hear later, to talk about the Jingle Ball, where they build a whole case against you. And before you even know what hits you, it's like you're racked over the coals. And they're usually valid points, which makes it hurt even more. So
I think that our Ablo in the clip we'll play with when we get into the Beth segment anyway, he makes a mention of armaments. Like Howard's already got like an arsenal of shit in his duster, waiting to just fucking haul off and shoot anytime he needs to. Which means that Ablo's more he knows the score before he goes in there, saying like, okay, so this is a guy that he if he's NPD, he's got all this shit in his head waiting to unfurl it at a moment's notice, like ninja fucking stars, anytime he needs to. And it doesn't matter that it's irrelevant to that situation in that context. He's just going to throw it at you, like, oh, by the way, your father's a fucking felon. He was a hack dentist who committed fraud. I took you from a life of nothingness in Pittsburgh, and now you're with me. So fuck you. Go ahead, something like that.
They might even. Even worse than that. Things that maybe she confided in him.
Sure.
Like a serious moment. They'll do. Shit
I have
like
herpes.
No, Claire.
Like she'll say, maybe something about her dad's crime, and then he'll know that hurt her, and he'll just bring it up flippantly, and it's like because
that
she knows
makes me happy. Shit.
Sorry, Sam. What was that? Sorry, Bob.
Because she knows that he knows how much that hurt her. It almost adds to, and this is just a hypothetical example, but this is how they communicate. It's like, I know that was a big deal for you, and I brought it up at this moment, like, and you're like, I didn't even know you were gathering that to use against me. Like, they're always gathering information, they're always thinking of how they can use something against somebody at all times.
In the future.
And they're always listening. They're always listening.
Sam.
This just occurred to me while you were saying they're always gathering, they're always using. And he said, first thing, crying into the car the kids saw. This just like hit me. Do you think it was purposeful that he made her cry in front of the kids?
Definitely. Whatever he said, because she seems like a pretty tough person. She seems pretty extroverted, pretty, New York, just listening to her speak over the radio. So whatever he said was probably pretty hurtful, and deliberate. So, and he seems to pride himself on it. I don't know many guys that I would consider masculine. Right. Respectful, that tell me how vicious they were towards their wives. I mean, that's not a very masculine thing that he seems to be taking this pride in. But
yeah, absolutely. So let's continue with the clip.
Oh, I don't think so.
Oh.
I think we might both be crying.
I could just pick apart whatever your worst fears are and then just keep going.
Oh, I can go back at you.
I don't know. I can cut pretty deep.
Oh, well, we'll be slashing.
I've never done it to you.
She doesn't fight the way you do, huh?
I've never done it to you. I've always been kind to you.
But she hasn't learned to... you've been living with her for a long time. You'd think she'd learn some tactics.
No, you don't win against me. You just don't.
Hey, you're going to inflict some heavy damage, though, so you don't come back.
I've yet to meet the person that can beat me in a fight. A verbal fight, fist fight.
Pelican.
Fight. Anyone can beat me.
Then she ought to start fighting.
That fight should have been on pay-per-view. It was better than the Buttafuoco-Geraldo fight.
Oh.
You were going to say, Bob?
Well, it's funny that you said that Pelican thing, because Artie was a guy who on air a couple of times brought up that, hey, I told you stuff in confidence and you just fucking brought it up on the air like it was nothing. And Howard's like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't remember that. He's like, yeah, you do. Which is gaslighting, of course. You know, Howard remember. We remember when people confide in us if it's something serious, especially someone as problematic as Artie was. But yeah, he brought that up a couple times. That Howard had used things that he told him in confidence.
And for Artie to remember, that even tells you more.
Well,
for Artie to remember that he said, this is confidential. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Especially when so much was totally on the table and that's probably why it would stick out. He would say like, look, I don't want, this is between me and you. And I thought we understood that this is not something for the fucking air. Otherwise I'd be on mic when I said it. So, and it would have been the Dana stuff.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, we were going at a pretty good.
Her in tears?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that wouldn't be the first time.
Now, Robin sounds delighted, by the way. Doesn't you get the sense that she cares one lick that Alison was upset? It just, I mean, she might sound a little sort of surprised, but it doesn't sound like she's on Team Alison in the slightest. Yes, Sam.
This sounds like the way she says this and the way, I had her in tears. Oh, you had her in tears? It sounds like a building of a narrative. It sounds like a building of a story, like a climactic thing in almost like it's not planned, but probably talked about that this happened beforehand and how the story is being unveiled. It sounds gleeful because they probably already discussed, this is what happened. We're going to discuss it and how they're laying the bricks down. You're right. Sounds gleeful. Much like the,
hold on, Ralph, you're not supposed to come in yet. You left condoms in they tell them the condom story in the Private Parts trailer and how it sounds so manufactured. And I mean, they're just horrible at acting. We know this from watching the movie, but even the voices, they don't sound genuine. In this case, yeah, it could be that, or it could be her trying to, like, I don't know, make light of it. I have no idea.
I'm always doing that.
Yeah, Sam.
Bob, can you tell with people from NPD, they're genuine? Well, they're never genuine, so but can you tell when they're, I guess, even although they're always disingenuous in some ways, can you tell when they're sometimes more disingenuous? Can you separate their lies? Are there triggers in their voice? Is there tells that are different than other liars?
Their lips move.
They tend to have sort of a jovial or inauthentic, where it's almost like things are too positive and things are too, I don't really know how to describe it, but like things just don't add up. Like when you hear about some kinds of depressive tendencies, but when you see them, they're sort of overly jovial, or they're trying to act very charitable, are just positive. They're usually like overly positive, like inauthentically positive. I've seen a lot. I don't know that that's a tell, but I've seen them just assume entire other identities like that.
So let's play the rest of this clip, and then we're going to try to mix it up a little bit.
I never knew that.
Yeah, we have our fights.
But you never said tears.
Yeah, well, it was a bad fight. I told you it was the worst fight we ever had.
Ooh, and the kids saw that?
No, they didn't see the fight, but they saw Mommy come downstairs a little shook up. She was a little punch drunk. She was a little wobbly.
You don't think they could hear?
She was a little wobbly when.
Now he's not He's not laughing and smiling because he thinks he's nervous about it, or he thinks he's giddy about it. He's giddy about the fact that he inflicted this he inflicted this roundhouse on his wife and wailed on her emotionally, like verbally. For minutes at a time and just reduced her to nothingness. He takes fucking clear pleasure out of it. That's not the laugh of someone who knows he did something bad. That's the pride, the profound pride of someone in a job well done according to his demented fucking standards. Anybody want to take me to task on that?
No.
I feel like welled up from hearing that, to be honest with you. Like
you can cannot
believe how like a woman must feel that they have to come down the stairs after that emotional abuse in front of their children and then they have to pretend at a concert to be okay for their
Yeah.
husband's sake. And then the next day he has the nerve to get on the air and gleefully talk about how he inflicted this pain on her.
Yeah, he kind of
What
tosses
a
it.
scumbag piece of shit.
He tosses it off like, yeah, I railed into her, and it was, she was crying. The kids saw this, and like, I can't even imagine laughing about it because first of all, it's draining. If you ever had a fight with your significant other, I mean, at the end, you just feel like you got hit by a Mack truck. Even if you're involved, like if you started it, or if you're the recipient, either way, you feel like it takes effort. I mean, it's not for him. It sounds like it took no effort, and the way he explains it, it's like, yeah, no problem. So this person designed a building. I fucking tore this person apart.
I have never gotten to a fight with somebody I love and come out of it emotionally hurt or maybe inflicting hurt, and that is my reaction.
Yeah,
ever.
Yeah. It seems a little beyond the pale. Bob,
that's the lack of empathy, and he couldn't even empathize with his own children.
No, and we're gonna play some kid clips.
She was a little punch drunk when they saw her. Like, dude, what do you just fucking traumatized your kid?
Right.
Like,
what does he give a fuck?
He doesn't care at all. He
Right.
seems to have really enjoyed it, proud of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the kids were all upset, and then and then I just said, no, it's okay. And we told the kids it was okay.
Shut up or I'll punch you.
No, I would never say it to the kids.
Oh, good, Robin. Ha ha
Yeah.
ha! You fucking cow.
She's completely at this point. She's in his pocket, and it's stuff like this. And you'll hear later that makes me think the problem she had with Emily, which was talked about at Sirius many years later, that Emily wrote her off basically, was most likely about something Alison related, like or Beth related, spouse related. Basically, don't talk to me about my father, whatever, because they never get into detail. But it was clear that Emily wrote Robin off, and Robin was like, yeah, it's a bridge that'll never, be, brought back. I'm sure she stuck her nose in some fucking family business that she had no business talking about it. And and Emily said, well, fuck you. You're not my mother, and don't talk about this and that, whatever. I'm sure that's exactly what it was. Sam?
Well, I hope whatever guitar hymn she comes up with next on YouTube, that it's about this fucking cackling nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got it. We got to the rainforest. we have to save the
You had
rainforest.
the rainforest in your house.
Yeah. So we're going to go into some of the kid clips because they are extraordinary. Before we go into this one is called 9B bitches. He bitches about being the breadwinner, and it was about I think the context was the kids who were making long distance calls. This is when he's making like over $1 million a year easily, and he's saying, "Oh, they're calling China and help me pay the fucking bills." Go ahead, Sam.
There is nothing, and these ones bother me, I think, probably the most because there is nothing more handicapped of a feeling when you're a new mother or a mother and your job is to raise children.
Yeah.
And because childcare is so expensive, so this becomes your job.
It is a
or
job.
you work part-time and then you split the time with working and raising a child.
Mm-hmm.
And then the person you're with thinks you're nothing because you don't bring home any money, even though the reason you're not bringing home money is because you are watching and raising the children you have together.
Well,
it's absolutely so demeaning and frustrating to listen to this.
Well, yes, especially when you just hear it in his voice. The kids are accessories. They're incidental. They're like furniture. They happen to be in the house. And he's spending his time, fucking jerking off to AOL gay chat rooms or whatever. And the fact is, we'll play clips. You'll hear it. This is one of them.
Do my kids deserve to call 609 area code and bankrupt me? No, I'm not buying into that premise.
No, I'm talking about the premise that she deserves half. That's only a premise, too.
I don't buy into that either. Oh, believe me, I don't. Believe me, I don't buy into that. But the courts say that he did.
Well, yeah, they got some laws behind
I know.
that one.
I say that like a robot says it.
You get half.
Yeah, half.
But you said, I know you deserve half.
Yeah, well, look, you want the honest opinion? I don't believe anybody deserves half of what I earn.
I certainly don't.
Because I swear to God, I'm the one sitting here busting my balls and my health goes every couple of weeks because I'm up so damn early in the morning and stressing out over all this crap.
He does nothing. And there's another clip I'll find later on when we take a break, and I'll get it because I know I have it, where he bullshits Alison by telling her, look, I say I'm working, but all I'm doing is watching TV. It's such bullshit. No, he says it years later. It's not during the time. That's why it's even more reprehensible. Sam, you wanted to say?
I'm not one of those women who believe that just because you were accustomed to some certain lifestyle because your husband provided it for you, and say your children are grown, that you get to maintain that type of lifestyle once the relationship is over during a certain point. If you're capable of making a living and your children are grown and their school is paid for and their medical is paid for and they can support themselves, you don't deserve half. Sorry, that's just my personal belief. But in this case, are you kidding me right now? You have 3 young children at home. You're talking for a living. Early, late, who gives a shit? You sit in a chair and you talk and you make a show. You're creative. It takes some sort of mental capacity and energy. Fine. Your wife is an educated woman and a psychologist? Therapy? What did she graduate in? Some sort of
I thought it was social work
psychologist?
initially, and then she did get her MA, or she might have even got her PhD. But she definitely did psychology. She studied I think psychology.
So what happens a lot of times is women put their careers on the back burners because you want to have a family, and then the family becomes a burden because you're the one working and you're sitting home with the kids, and they're saying, "Oh, you're not earning."
Yeah, Bob.
Yeah, there was definite, in a scenario like that, when someone does make a sacrifice, when there was, a reasonable expectation that they would have had a career and made significant money, I do think that should be a factor. But all of this just makes me think of a saying that I heard a long time ago, and it's, narcissists hit you and say, ow. And this is the relationship with them. They want to be the child, they want to be the parent. They want to pay for everything to hold it over your head, then they resent you for them paying for it. They want you to stay at home.
Very martyr-like, right?
Oh, they're complete martyrs. Yeah, they're victims. They're professional victims about everything. They're deeply unhappy people, and they're going to find, on both sides of the coin, some way to be unhappy. So
there's I'm going to bring it up just quickly because we're talking about I thought about it, the Emily Stern New York Post article that Dory Lewak wrote from 2015, where she writes down, she explains, she muses that her mom's re-entry into the working world might have been the straw that broke Howard's back. Maybe he couldn't handle it when she went back to work as a psychoanalyst, which I found fascinating in the opinion that just the idea that she went back to do something he's now taking, like he's now going to psychiatry and did marriage counseling and then leading to psychoanalysis. But it's almost like, oh God, now she knows exactly what the fuck I'm doing. Like now she knows what I'm about. She knows too much. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sam,
can you read the quote in that article about what Emily said about him being a narcissist, just since that's up already?
Yeah. I just hold on. Stern. I'll get it real quick. Okay. Yeah, it was right under that actually. Okay. My dad always instilled in us everybody's watching you, she recalls. While Howard, quote, always said it was for our protection, she attributes his warnings to narcissism. I was alone. The belief that we were so different made it unhealthy, she says. Maybe because he was disconnected from the world, he experienced so much shame about who he was. And it's amazing that his own daughter, who, and by the way, the whole New York Post Chronicle was fascinating because she had an exhibit that she immediately canceled. Like in the following week after this article came out, which was him saying, "Listen, you little fucking trust fund cunt, you're gonna cancel that fucking stupid exhibit with your shitty photos, and otherwise I'm cutting the checks. That's gonna stop." And he was pissed, but he never sued that author who we tried to contact years ago to try to get for an interview. And she must have had it on tape because he never sued. And anytime something like that gets released, and he doesn't sue, it's true. And they must have it recorded. And she's got the proof. Yeah, absolutely. So then he'll do whatever clandestine fuckery he can do behind the scenes to hurt that person, like he did to Adam Levy when he got him fired from Radar Online, or hindered his job. I don't know this for a fact. I'm saying
Jake Bronstein from FHM.
Jake Bronstein from FHM for the stupidest fucking reason, and it's obvious. I mean, at one point, the guy was working for this publication, releases something, and then now he's no longer working for them, and there's no explanation. There's no, it's all bullshit. Anyway, so let's continue with that one.
Yeah, when I crawl out of bed in the morning, I know it's just me.
Yeah, ain't nobody else helping me. And I know they go, well, your wife made the house nice. And I'll tell you the truth, my house isn't that nice. I don't have food there that I enjoy. I don't know what accoutrements I'm getting.
Fucking what a fucking cunt. I mean, I'm sorry. And we'll play a couple more of these. I want to play this one, even though we did it before. Sam, you remember the wrap-up show clip from the 15 Foundation part where Robin talks about him locking Alison and Emily out of in Harlem?
I love this. But by the way, I should have gotten like a stress ball or a punching bag for this because I fucking this little cunt, fucking cunt he is.
So the next clip I'm going to play, guys, is one I thought we had played on our own show, but it might have been the Carson show that we had done at the old place, and it's I'll just play it for you. You'll have to hear it for yourself. I'm not even going to promo it.
And that was his reaction. My other favorite story is the time that NBC had that picnic.
Right. Yes.
And all of the staff went to this picnic, and it was out in, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
It was in the Bronx in a park somewhere. Yeah. And everybody was afraid to go there in the first place because it was the Bronx. And we went, and it was fine. And then, Howard was married at the time, and Emily was, a toddler, had just been potty trained.
Okay, so I think I mentioned it in the first half, guys, about this is a wrap-up show, obviously, but it's from the 15 Foundation era, so 2010, just so everybody knows.
And we go back to the car. We'd all come together, so we go back to the car, and Emily says she needs to use the bathroom, and they had this little potty chair in the trunk of the car. So she's using the potty chair in the trunk of the car. We're all standing outside of the car. All of a sudden, we hear someone say, Howard, Howard, Howard. Howard jumped into the car and locked all the doors. His wife, his child, me, and Fred are outside of the car.
Take the kid on the potty. I'm safe.
Stood guard, so she was actually able to finish.
And he was just like, I'm the most important one here.
Ralph Sorella, you're on the wrap-up show.
What a pussy.
Oh, hey.
So he's actually locked in the car, so if something did happen, you guys couldn't even get in the car to be safe.
Right, because
he locked us out.
The most important person was taken care of.
Protect the president.
Now they're laughing at it because they have to. It's the only way to deal with that. But that's Fred in there. That's Bowie. That's Ralph on the line, obviously, and Will is in there laughing. Can you imagine?
I think they're able to let their hair down a little bit because Howard's not there to spin it, to really come down on them, and they're just like, yeah, is this guy a fucking pussy or what? It's how it is when I've had that happen when bosses leave or big shot guys will be in the room and they'll go, just be like, what a fucking idiot. And I'm sure they all think that about them.
Oh yeah. So the next clip
came flying out of Ralph's mouth, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seconds. That's the guy who fucking picks out and washes your underwear is saying you're a pussy within 0.5 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next clip is called Alison starting to voice her frustrations more on the air. And this is, again, closer to divorce time, guys.
What's the matter, baby? You got jealous?
Oh, Howard.
Yeah, that girl was under the console giving me a good massage.
Oh, my God. You know.
Felt good.
It's like enough already.
No, it's not. That's just the beginning. I have to have that.
It's enough already for me.
I am so aroused now.
Oh, God.
I am so aroused. I'm ready.
Oh, God.
Sam, you wanted to say.
Bye. Fuck you. You're so ready. I'm ready to take half and spill it all.
You can imagine the lawyers like recording all this shit for the eventual like here you go, Your Honor, and then Howard's lawyers going blank check. Just take what you want. Just say what you want. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
This is the only for Alison's position that I'm like good for you. I mean, I couldn't imagine staying with this sack of shit for so long that she actually every single dime for anyone who says she doesn't deserve this.
Oh yeah.
Come home.
Come home.
Come home.
What's going to happen there?
She's going to beat the crap.
Yeah. You're going to cut it off. Yeah. No, don't get jealous. It's just like, you know what it is?
Howard, I'm not jealous. I'm nauseous.
I've become a sex symbol.
I'm nauseous.
Girls love me.
Howard.
I can't help it. And you want to know something? I've been with Alison now 19 years.
Well,
that was your marriage. You've had 19.
4 years.
3.5.
3.5. I met her when I was 19 years old.
22.5 years.
And I want to have sex. But I love my wife. Don't get me wrong. If anybody's
No, you don't want to have sex.
Excuse me.
She's the mother of my children.
She's the mother of my children. That's the only worth. Okay, and it's not really, and he just says that like a throwaway. That's like reading a Bazooka Joe rapper. I mean, there's nothing to that. Yes, Sam.
Yeah, she's the mother of my children. Madonna Complex thing, which I already mentioned, so that's going around again. And the fact that she maybe has a nanny, Alma or whatever, but she's not paying for 3 kids in daycare. So that's a big cost cut too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob?
I think now we're in the abandonment phase, the next phase where he's just flagrantly doing this stuff and he's going, hey, I'm not accountable for anything that I do. I'm a sex symbol now. Like, now he's not beating around the bush, teasing it. Now it's just, hey, this is the way shit is. I got a massage. Like, he's like almost tempting her to leave at this point.
Yeah. Sam?
Bob, there was this article I read in actually 2020 Psychology Today magazine. And basically it said that there's this mark or point where the shift of the honeymoon phase goes into this tailspin. So what do you think is the mark or the cut that is the decline of Howard's and Alison's relationship? If just from an outsider's perspective, speculation.
Well, what I kind of believe from an outsider's perspective was one thing that I shared with you guys on our Facebook chat was that I think when Howard was filming his movie and he was getting raw, uncut, high-grade narcissistic supply, which was constant pampering, constant attention, constant admiration, I think that started to send him into a mania where it's like, imagine going from making $10 million a year to making $10,000 a year within a couple weeks. Like, your brain, after you get that taste for that 10 million, you've already been exposed to something that you're never going to come back from. So I think when Howard was in that sort of, I think he started to go into a mania personally. When you hear him describe when they were making that movie and he's just, wasn't it wonderful? And a lot of movie stars are like, yeah, it's fine. You know, I'm kind of used to it. He just gloats about it. I think he went into a manic episode and that's where he started to take certain steps of having, affairs. And I think once he got that taste of just pure uncut narcissistic supply, which is like meth to them, I just think that was the beginning of the end for him and Alison, because he's just not going to go back to that lifestyle,
Beginning of the end or the tipping point?
I definitely would say it was a tipping point.
Yeah.
A tipping point. The point
of no return, basically.
Yeah.
Because you're right, and since then is still one of the fucking top 10 bingo card questions you can get from any interview. Isn't the biggest aphrodisiac? To fall in love. Don't you find it difficult to fall in love with your coworker in a movie? And it's being on the movie set is such an aphrodisiac, and they treat you like you're in the womb, and I always want to go back in the womb. Yeah, Bob.
So what happens to people when they're in manic episodes is they become really sexually active, and they have just voracious libidos. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that. I'm gonna have to
hit
some narcissistic personality.
By the way,
support
besides
groups. Go ahead.
the fact that I really, I think that's a really interesting answer, and definitely could marinate on that and think about a lot of other springboard questions from that. But I do, now that you said that libido anecdote, what do you think he's ever had another manic episode that might have resulted in another excessive libido mania?
I think he's chased that mania. I think he's chased it through trying to get on these various shows. I think AGT might have been his best ploy at recapturing that mania, because it is like a drug, right? So when they talk about when people get that initial first hit, they're chasing the dragon, or they're trying to recapture that hit. So I think that when he did that, it sort of started this process of him saying, I need to return to that plateau. I need to return to that $10 million a year. So he's been chasing that ever since. And like other drug addicts, when they're chasing that, they tend to tailspin out, make a lot of bad moves that ultimately hurt their reputation. So I don't know that he ever really has had a similar episode to that since the movie.
That would have been the biggest sort of stroke, shall we say, even in decades later, because a movie is not the same. Is a big budget movie, and even that one, like pretty heavily sized budget for a film of that nature. Even adjusting for inflation, it doesn't matter. It was a lot of money. It's way more than any TV show, way more than any podcast, whatever. Or even the money he's getting at Sirius, whatever people think it is, or even if it's less now, even at his height, he'd have to go back to that. So the first Sirius contract would have been the next sort of big thing like that. Yes, Sam.
But interesting that you said the AGT thing would be a recapturing of that mania. So he didn't recapture that mania, hence the getting things done, the Marcy Turk edict, the implementing of. He almost, if you think about it, now that I'm just having this epiphany, that sort of recapturing of the mania resulted in him trying to make his staff on the radio show become that womb of private parts.
Surrogate.
Yeah. The stuff, just when I hear him describe his time on that, I've never heard anyone talk about this libido boost. And it just the greatest thing, and you get pampered. I mean, again, that was one of the first things that sort of tipped me off to him having NPD, because it just didn't seem to like be relative, It was just like, I've never really heard anyone else talk about being on a movie set like that,
I think originally you could chalk it up to, okay, I've never actually been on a movie this big. I've never, it's my first experience. So I think you could write it off as that and be content with that. But then when he refuses to stop bringing it up constantly, like it's almost as if it's a compulsion. That was me going back to my mother's fucking box and getting sucked by my mother, get suckled by my mother. And he seems to be chasing that endlessly. It's sort of the epitome of never actually having to make a creative or command decision yourself. Everything's done for you. All you gotta do is show up. They'll drive you. They'll feed you. They'll fucking clothe you. They'll measure you. They'll fucking clean out your shit. You can shit where you like, piss where you like. We don't care. We'll build it. Because they built a studio for him in the city, and that's where his fuck pad. Grillo went on about that at some point in different interviews over the years.
And then you take it to Well, he thought AGT. It's going to be just like it was for Private Parts. And it was somewhat, not exactly the same. He's not recapturing that same first high. So what does he do? He berates his staff beyond belief to make it so he can try to recapture some of that high, I believe.
Well, also, what's the difference?
I mean, there's multiple factors, not just that, but I think that, yeah, that's a lot to do with the fact that the AGT high wasn't what he thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
it wasn't commensurate.
He wasn't the star of it. And there were other people that were bigger stars that have gone on. I think that's part of the reason why he resents Simon Cowell, because I think that that's ultimately what he wanted, and he wanted to be the ultimate star. And when he was on Private Parts, it was a movie about him. I mean, it was his life. He's going to be, it's about the most narcissistic drug I think anyone could ever get. A movie about you that you had say over, that you star in.
That's a lie.
So, based on your bullshit book.
Which is, again, part of narcissism, right? He sold us the story or the false self. But yeah, I think that show, because he ultimately wasn't the star, I think he kind of resented that. I don't think it quite hit that fix that he wanted from the movie, that he got from when he did the movie.
It's actually a good thing you bring that up, Sam, because that didn't even occur to me that the timing, because it was May of 2012. Summit was the following year, like whatever. So 7 months later, I guess, or 8 months later, if you want to get technical. And you're right. It's not a breakthrough. The ratings are not proving that he's Simon Cowell, who co-owns the fucking show, and has a co-creator credit, as far as I know. He's like a producer. So he doesn't have the leverage, and it's not about him. And someone said he'd have to be a fucking narcissist. This was on the old channel. Because look how many times he got up on the fucking stage. How often did you see Nick Cannon on stage? How often did you see Heidi Klum on stage? How often did you see the other ones, or Simon Cowell for that matter, going up on stage? He never had to.
Never.
He brought in ratings sitting on his ass, just saying yay or nay. Sam,
stood up a lot.
Not to mention the fact he was the rookie on the show, was getting paid a boatload, but then resented the fact that all the people who were on the show had families or children on set, or they hung out together. He resented that. It was very bizarre behavior.
And they tried every bullshit way to make it to bring in his audience. They had Ben appear on one show, and as a walk-on, it's just, don't be stupid, you moron. It was like played as a bumper, but it was clearly something that fell flat because it didn't have no one cared. His audience wouldn't really
children don't
care.
know who Ben Stern is.
No, they don't. So it was just sort of, it was like a fish flopping. I used this analogy a couple times now on the last summit, the last episode, which will be appearing this Sunday. It's almost like desperation, abject desperation. Let's see what I can make a hit. Let's see if I can make this viral in the era of now. How do you make this viral? And some things you can't control. So in this one, he absolutely couldn't, as much as he tried. So it's a good point, Sam. I like that one. Let's continue with this clip because there's only about a half a minute left.
No, I don't know that this means you love your wife and you want to have sex with other
Robin.
people.
I'm like nauseous from this.
I believe sex and love are two different things.
No, they're not.
Really?
Not in your life.
Right.
Listen, if you want to play that, fine with me. Let me go. Let me be free.
Oh, you would cry so much. That's the only problem. She would be so hurt.
Oh, let her go. She's saying it. This is
really?
what I want.
Okay, honey, you're free. Jackie wants you. Jackie's first online.
Better stay with Howard.
There's your treat.
I love you.
Okay, yes, Sam.
Listen to this emotional abuse.
And also, he's throwing it on her. You leave. I'm not going to make the decision. You be the one to leave. It's going to be your responsibility. Not my fault. It's on you. You left me.
Right.
And so fuck you. Fuck you for leaving me. Even if I gave you the fucking slide and greased up the fucking slide and pushed you out the door and knocked you out while you're going down the slide and provided the fucking, the landing pad for you when you finally got to the bottom. That's your fault. Sam.
And we also have him trying this new age way of thinking of sex and love. Okay, so if you want to have this discussion about sex and love, Okay, fine. But that's not what's really happening. Like, that is not what... You are not separating sex and love. You're just saying this idea or this... If you think that, okay, but you're just saying that because you want to make this fit. So she tells you, I'm done.
Yeah. Bob?
Again, abandonment, threatening abandonment, conveying abandonment. She's saying, just let me go then. And the one thing I do, which I'm sure we'll get into when we do our episode on the sexual stuff, there is a difference with them when it comes to sex between love and sex, because they don't have loving sex. They essentially use people's bodies to masturbate with. And I've heard several people describe that as sex with people that have NPD, because it's all about them. There's no actual mutual experience happening. They're doing what they want to do, and you're just there. And so that is probably true. That's one thing that is true for him.
I just got this image of Christian Bale from American Psycho when he's pumping that girl and he's looking at himself in the mirror and he's flexing and stuff. That was one of the funniest images I ever saw. Go ahead, Sue.
Just talking about this week with him banging Beth in the head with a necklace vigorously. And well, not like this is true, because I don't believe they have sex, but if they did, he said, I'm just banging away vigorously and smashing her in the head with my necklace. And she said, well, I move your necklace around, but you don't even notice.
Yeah, well, that's what I've heard. They just sort of go to town, and whatever happens on the other person's end, kind of whatever. They're not interested in having it be a mutual pleasant experience. They just sort of go to town, and then that's the end of it. I've heard that quite a bit.
I'm going to play another clip another of the Dr. Todd Grande clips. It's called No Progress, No Compromise. And it's to where Alison and Stern are at that point when we're listening to these other clips.
Now, to move on to the fourth sign, we see that there are a lot of non-productive arguments that occur in the context of these relationships. There's no progress, and just like with the third sign, there's really no compromise. No compromise occurs that kind of heals whatever the argument is about. So the argument just continues, and it's kind of a war of attrition, right? There's no response that's adequate. Just like the third sign, there's nothing that can be said that can fix it. So it just becomes this war of attrition. It's simply just abuse. It's arguing just to cause pain because there is no acceptable solution. So in a sense, sometimes somebody who has vulnerable narcissism, they can tolerate arguments better than somebody who doesn't. Not most of the time, interestingly, but some of the time they can, and they can use this ability to just wear the other person down.
I think you mentioned that on the very first episode we did, Bob, where it's like they just keep continually looping into this locked idea of like attack, keep you on the defensive. Maybe both the first and second episodes, because I know there will be some repetition, guys. Bear with us. But that when you hear the last clip that we're going to play, or second last clip that we're going to play, the long one, it's never more apparent than that Jingle Ball clip. Yes, Sam.
Who do you think experienced or experiences more of this? I don't know if it's how do you say this, abuse, or this type of narcissism that Dr. Todd Grande is talking about, Alison or Beth?
Beth, no question. No question.
Because he has the unfettered sort of, and more what's the expression, more pronounced NPD now than more developed NPD symptoms than when he was with Alison, right?
That's part of it, yeah. And I mean, Beth doesn't have boundaries the way that, what I heard Alison, which we'll go into when we get to the Jingle Ball. I don't, and on top of all of that, Beth really has everything stacked against her, because Alison, does have the kids, and Alison is able to have a career if she really wants to. And I don't think Alison was as addicted to striving for the fame and money that Beth is, which is part of it. And Howard knows that she wants that, and Howard's exploiting it. So I think that once he knows all those things, he can exact his abuse in a much more flagrant way.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because now it's also occurring to me that as the later on in Alison and Howard's marriage, she starts to take, I guess, and tries to take more advantage of the fact that he can get free tickets to this and screenings. But she wasn't doing that for the longest time. She's raising the kids. As they're getting older, she decides, oh, can you get me? And the Jingle Ball thing was an example of that. Can you get me tickets to this concert? And can you? She went to a movie premiere and she met Julia Roberts. Like she shook her hand or something like that. He doesn't really start to get upset about that until it happens to Alison. With Beth, he accepts it. Like it's sort of like she's the one that the guys divorced the ex, and she's the one that reaps the benefits of the shit Alison had to fucking take. So she can do these things, but she's not going to challenge him because she doesn't have really a means to become famous on her own. Autonomous, absolutely. Sam?
But interestingly, she even just like going out was an issue for their marriage. Just even doing regular date things, dinner or a movie. Hide it.
He has
he resented that, but with Beth, it's a full-blown event, and it was constant. Their whole relationship was this constant publicized event.
Well, it was all fine with him and Alison as long as she deferred to him. But later on, when she starts to assert her independence and she never says it's all about him. She starts to, for a long time, she would hold him in check. But until she finally got worn away and said, fuck this, that's when he served no purpose to him because she's not supplying him with that narcissistic supply anymore.
And that's why he's pissed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now
Beth was never going to challenge him on that, especially early on, like early years. Yes, Sam?
But now Beth is in the house. Well, like she does her kitten drops and shit. But Beth's fame and his fame is running out. And where does this leave? And now you see she's falling apart at the seams, right?
Yeah.
So where does this leave her? Because she's completely hopeless.
Maybe we should go into this when we get into the Beth stuff in earnest, when we get to the Beth episode. But we'll see where it leads to. But let's go with the next one. Alison starting to, free me and let me date who I want. This is a bit of a long clip, but we'll try our best.
This is the first time this has ever happened. You almost wrecked my life. Honey, this is the first time that ever happened.
That's not true.
That is true.
No,
usually I have to instigate.
It's happened before.
And then I
can appreciate what you have. And you know what? If you want to throw it all away, free me, and then I'll be free to date.
You want to date?
You find somebody who really appreciates this.
That's right.
I'll be watching TV today, Alison. No, you have to throw me out of the house.
That's right. The girls have to attack him, and you have to throw him out.
I wonder something, though. If we break up...
Aggressive.
Alison, if we break up, would we still be friends?
I don't think so.
Really?
And you mentioned that before, Bob. You said that most NPD spouses or ex-partners or whatever of NPD sufferers typically don't have anything to do with them once that connection is severed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That goes through the whole discard phase, and it's not even just when it's a spouse. It also is when it's a parent, when it's a friend, when it's a coworker. There's usually not a relationship outside of that. After the discard happens, they don't want anything to do with that person. Almost 99% of the time.
And yes, ladies and gentlemen of the QF family, with that it also includes ex-employees that seek independence and who have he's written off for whatever fucking reason. But we're just dealing with the spouses. Bob.
Yeah, the discard can go two ways. That's the tricky thing about the discard is once someone starts to catch on to them, they can discard them, and then once they don't see any value in that person once the narcissist doesn't see the value in that person any longer, they can discard them. So the discard can actually be two ways, and usually when the discard happens, it's usually a thing where it's like, yeah, they just left. out of nowhere. You know, what they'll say is out of nowhere. But you see the confusion with people like Artie or Dominic, where they're just like, I don't know what happened. Like, I just don't hear from this guy anymore, like, because they've been discarded. So
yeah, and it's unceremonious most of the time. Sam.
To elaborate on that, or what I want to ask is, some people during that discard act that you're talking about, like, have different responses. So you see a Scott Einzinger, a Scott DePace, a Stuttering John, for example. Basically, that discard has left them all in different places in their life, and they've each handled it differently. I want to ask you, like, why and how does this discard affect certain people? I don't know, sometimes where it like almost paralyzes them in their life and they can't move on, or they just accept it and move on. What's the difference? Why can't
perspective?
I don't understand.
I think for certain people, they're confused because sometimes the discard happens when they need that person the most, or when they're the most vulnerable. So they'll wind up being confused if that's the case. Some people, it's just, I don't know. I just think it's different perspectives, different ways people justify it. But I normally
even though, like,
always
time, like all the time that it has elapsed, they still.
What do you mean?
They still hold on. Like, look at Stuttering John's podcast.
Yeah, because
I mean,
people
he's insane.
I think it's people trying to make sense of what happens, because when there is that final abandonment, because people have normal trajectories that are neurotypical or healthy people, whereas, like, yeah, I just sort of stopped seeing them. We stopped getting together after a certain period of time. They kind of went their separate ways. They got married. With narcissistic discard, it's complete abandonment overnight. And so people don't normally have that sort of relationship trajectory. So a lot of people need closure, they need answers, and really there aren't any. So they continue to kind of go through these mental cycles and ask these questions, but there's really no answer for it at the end of the day. So it's about how quickly someone can wind up just moving on and accepting that there isn't answers, is what I would say.
Can you end up being where you never move on?
Sure. Yeah.
Wow. That's sad.
Yeah. And I think a lot of narcissistic people revel in doing that to people, and I think that they like really abandoning them in very vulnerable times.
So you think that maybe, like, Howard gets a kick out of the fact that somebody like a Stuttering John is this alcoholic embarrassment, crying and crowing about him after all these years?
Probably.
When it comes to, and that's a whole separate episode, because we've sort of dealt with the certain departures of the show, but we haven't gotten through the whole litany of all of them. But it is fascinating to see. You're right, Sam. The difference from individual to individual, the reactions that come as a result of it, and like the Billy West one, because that's an episode we're going to eventually do, is one of the more intriguing ones to me, because he's kind of taken the high road. But he's also at some points given indications that, no, what I'm telling you is partially true, but the real truth is more insidious. And the fact is, I was pushed out, and I was, we'll talk about that at another time, obviously. But it's fascinating, the last days of Billy West on the show.
Bob, bringing this up to me, I thought I looked at every departure individualized. I didn't look at it as a behavioral pattern on Howard's part of this is part of an NPD symptom of discarding. So I looked at this as an entirely different pattern, if you will. Like, I didn't even see this as a pattern. I just thought as each individual person and how they were discarded or how they left the show. Well, left the show. I thought it was individualized. I didn't realize it was a behavioral pattern in his NPD. So when you look at it in that way, to me, it changes the whole way I see how everyone's leaving and how their life has transpired thus far, which is interesting.
there's a connective thread in the way that they are linked post departure. So because you see how he treats them, almost they're just non-entities after they're gone. They're of no use to him. Only Stuttering John was mentioned sporadically after he left in sort of favorable terms, and then eventually that stopped. Artie he doesn't exist on the fucking show anymore. It was a complete write-off. Scott Einziger, same thing until the lawsuit when he sued him and the producers of that show, Are You Hot? Then he couldn't shut up about it because it was something that was affecting him mentally. At any rate, let's continue because this is a long ass clip and we have one even longer afterwards.
You'd be mad at me. Would you be like the Love Boat captain's wife? Would you join that like first wives club? Ladies? What is it? What is ladies?
Ladies, life after divorce is eventually sane.
Would you actually like bad?
Writing books.
You would? Would you be bad mouth me? Why? First of all, I would
do tell-all.
I would give her half my money.
More than half.
I'm not giving you more than half.
More than half.
No, you better get a good lawyer.
I think if you can hear it in this, it sounds like Alison's already got the fucking divorce papers drawn up.
Yeah, they know it's over.
Yeah.
Bad mouthing me. Would you badmouth me? That's what you're worried about in the divorce? Not like, when would I see my kids?
Absolutely. Yeah. And what would you tell the truth about me? Really?
I worked hard for that
You'll
money.
have a battery of lawyers.
I would just. No, but seriously, you still be friends?
No,
Really? You would hate me.
That's right, because you ruined a wonderful thing. Why would she like you?
Exactly. I was like Robin. I would be friends with Robin.
You wouldn't turn the children against me, would you?
I would try.
She would, too.
She's coming and she's fighting on all sides.
No, but I'd win that one.
I wouldn't even have to do anything. If you ever did anything to hurt me, they would hate you.
I wouldn't hurt you. I just want to go out and have sex with some women.
That would hurt.
I just want to have sex with Vanessa. Listen, you won't even know. I'm not stupid like Frank
What a
Gifford.
piece of shit. Listen to this loveless, no love.
Yeah.
Just complete hurt.
Right.
No empathy at all.
None whatsoever. And really, let's be honest, and this you've alluded to this before, Bob, why would you ever have your wife on the air for such a discussion? And unless it was completely joking, but at this point, none of the fans really know enough about it, and no one hears the replays because there's not the capacity, unless you've taped it on some fucking Maxell cassette or something. You don't know that this stuff is going on, and it's building to a crescendo. So, but now when you listen to it in retrospect, especially, and you know what happens, you can totally hear the fucking blueprint of the divorce in all this conversation.
Search the roof.
Oh yeah, she's gonna want you after that.
She won't know.
You know what? I wouldn't even be able to look at him.
Really?
I would be so disgusted.
My life is hell.
It is not.
My life is hell because she would think of me as a shit, and I would be a shit. She's going to talk. She's going to tell the real fucking truth about me. Yeah. He's still afraid of that. Do you remember, Sam, when we brought up the Bushkin? He met Bushkin in the hallways of Sirius when he was plugging the Johnny Carson book, and he thought, I thought Johnny Carson was a scumbag, but I don't think it's right to tell a tell-all about your ex-boss.
Johnny Carson was a scumbag until the bombastic Bushkin decided to write a very thoughtful memoir that revealed all sides of Johnny. And by the way, to me, painted him not in a bad light in some ways, but an honest light and a great light in a lot of ways. More so.
It was three-dimensional.
He was a dimensional person.
It was pretty even-handed, even though I've heard some stories after the fact about the real reasons for that split. And yes, I'm sorry, guys, it's another Johnny Carson mention because we love him. What are we going to say? I'll also mention Paul Lynde because I love him too. Anyway, he did that whole thing. So that's foremost on his mind. What am I going to look like in this divorce? How am I going to look? But he's not actually caring what does she feel? What do the kids feel?
Well, listen to this victim flipping.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do
hell.
A, B, and C to you. I'm going to fuck other people. I want to do this and that. Right. But my life is hell. My life is hell. You're making your life. You're the breadwinner. You're the one who made her stay home. You're the one who doesn't want to watch the kids. And yet she's the one who wants to have sex. Yet it's your life is hell.
That's right.
Who wants to bitch slap this fuck?
Bob?
It's victim, professional victim, vulnerable, as they call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't win. So, yeah, I just think he's just he wants it pinned on her, the divorce pinned on her, so he doesn't look like the complete monster that he really is.
Yeah. So let's keep going.
Hell, how dare you?
How many people get what you got yesterday?
Everybody.
Oh, stop.
So this is where he's talking about he got a blowjob or something. We'll have to progress it a little more, but that's the gist of that one. It's a long clip. I don't think there's too much more in there, except for the Bimba comment, which is funny, but it doesn't really advance the whole narrative too much. Yeah, Sam.
So she calls in. Obviously, he knew she was going to be calling in. What would their private conversations be like, Bob, if these are what the public on-air conversations are like?
These are probably much more authentic and honest and not as covert and not as coded and not as legal. This is where it really comes out, and they both know that, and that's why I think she's flippant in the way that she's speaking too, and she's being very open, because I think they know this is where we're going to resolve a lot of the stuff that's kind of bubbling beneath the surface. Let's get it out there right now. That's probably why she's calling in at all. Nobody wants to talk about this kind of shit to millions of people listening, but she knows I might have a chance of getting this person out of my life. Let's figure out where I am now. I'll start stacking the deck for me, and then we'll go from there.
But isn't that completely confounding, the fact that you have to have you care what people think so much, but you have to have a conversation. You have to have a conversation in public in order to hash out the things in private. How does that even make sense?
Well, very, very little with them makes sense, but again, here we have the microphone, which is his magical key to plausible deniability, which is where he can be the most honest. And he's brought that up a lot. He's like, I like bringing stuff up on the air that I want to actually say. I'm not going to bring this up off the air with just a lot of shit. I don't know. He did want to write some forewords or something, things like that over the year, where people are like, well, why are you bringing this up on the air? Why don't you talk to me off the air? He's like, I don't like doing this off of the air, because he doesn't have that safeguard. So here he can say anything and then say he didn't mean that,
The next clip I'm going to play is a 30-second clip about him being an absentee father and admitting it. And it just sounds like horseshit, but you guys hear for yourself. This is around the same area.
Unbelievable.
Well, it's the values you have instituted. I
haven't instituted any values.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
You didn't.
I didn't do it because I'm too busy working to pay for everything.
Motherfucker.
It's my wife's fault. She's the one who says she deserves.
And agree
my wife's a 50-50 partner. She's the one supposed to be doing the values while I'm out working.
Well, her values are suspended.
Right.
You didn't come to an agreement on it.
There's going to be a whole new martial law in town.
Yeah, all bullshit. And then I'm going to play.
Robin, way to speak up for women and mothers, and
she's
really fair.
She's
fucking
awful.
Twat.
This second last clip is about it's a 2001 interview he did with Vince McMahon, in which he admits he fucked around on Alison, but he doesn't. It's spontaneous sincerity from the Wig, if you guys catch my drift, and because they're addressing Vince's infidelity with his wife in the context, and then it just comes out. He blurts it out, and I believe it 100%. Doesn't say that he fucked women though. So.
It's my mind, not my penis, that I have to train.
Yeah, I'm working on training my penis. That's where I've been going wrong. That's why I lost half my money. I can't believe my penis. Train the mind.
Okay, so like right there and then, guys, to me, that's you could argue, okay, he's joking, but you don't joke about stuff like that when you have gone through a very public, very expensive clearly expensive divorce, and so to me, that's the smoking gun. He doesn't say that I'm going to cut fucking Ralph in the trailer of Private Parts, and that's what the real issue is.
Smoking gun.
Yeah, exactly. So the last one, and it's a long one, and we're going to get through this as best we can, guys. And it's the Jingle Ball. I call it the Jingle Ball Grey Rock segment. And basically, it's 1998. I can't remember the exact date, but it's the last time you hear Alison on the show, as far as I know. She's referenced on the show over the years since, but not verbally on the show. So let's go with this one.
That's how I feel every time.
Yeah.
The guy was going to call in and say that my wife was hitting it on one of the DJs from Z100 last night.
Was what?
Hitting on one of the DJs from Z100. My wife went to that Jingle Ball.
Yeah, that big Christmas concert.
Oh, I love how he was trying to, by the way, to
Piss me off. No.
Hold on, Sam. Let's let that play out just a little bit more because it's a long clip, and then we'll definitely go into it. So hold on just one second. Yeah.
I was going to say, I love how he was going to try to mispronounce Jingle Ball because when he doesn't like something, he tries to do that, Lena Dunham.
Oh, yeah.
So he was like trying to mispronounce Jingle Ball, but couldn't think of a way to mispronounce it. So that's what happened.
Or years later when Norm accused him of enabling Artie, and he goes, speaking of Norm, why haven't I seen him around? What's happened to his fucking career? And it's all like, how dare you reveal something about me that's negative?
Has no clue. No. Z100 is a competing radio station here in New York, and they have this thing, Jingle Ball. I don't know what the Jingle Ball is.
They're not even all bands she's into, right?
She tries to act like she's into these bands. I never once have heard her listen to music. All right? Between you and me.
Oh, no.
So,
the music poser is criticizing his wife's taste in music. A guy who likes... Yeah, a guy who likes nothing and doesn't know music from Adam is going to tell people about something he doesn't know about, and he wouldn't know the lineups because he's not a music fan. Fucking idiot. I hate when he goes on about music. I really do. Sorry, Sam.
I'm sorry. Do you need a shoulder to cry on to sponge?
Yeah, I heard Black Hole Sun. It takes me to a dark place.
So she's running around the house. I got to get tickets to the Jingle Ball. Jingle Ball. Now I know what the Jingle Ball is. Z1. It's a Z.
Yeah, they have it every year.
It's a Z100 promotion.
Oh yeah.
And they're not even having good bands there this year. Like not Mariah Carey, Shania Twain.
Don't want to get on Mariah Carey. That's a possible guest. You don't want to fuck on her.
Shania Twain.
That was the biggest name they had there. The other ones I never even heard of.
Well, the Goo Goo Dolls were there.
Well, okay, Goo Goo Dolls.
The people you were groping fucking guys in thongs for in the studio. You can remember them, though. They're fine. Yeah, Sam?
The guys, remember we had a big meeting about how we're going to get them basically out of the music industry if they didn't show up to perform for us dancing with naked men in thongs groping in a small space.
Exactly. We'll blackball them and call them homophobes.
So my wife's like, I got to get tickets to the Jingle Balls. And I'm going, does she know how I make my living? That I'm on the radio? That it might be potentially embarrassing to me to have my wife
at the Jingle Ball.
Yeah.
Sounds like her girlfriend's, Howard. Can you get
it doesn't matter.
No, I know
it's just like, you want to know something, man? I gave him my shrink said to me.
You get your tickets.
My shrink said to me, what's the big deal? It could be funny. I go, no.
He's not into.
Okay, I don't believe his fucking shrink said anything to him about this. This is another one of those things where he goes, my shrink told me, I know a guy, this happened. I don't fucking buy it. And at one point he says...
Yeah, he does that a lot. You're right.
Right? Like, I know a guy who... I know a guy.
Well, Bob, if you were his shrink, say he goes, even my shrink said, and obviously that doesn't sound believable or intelligent at all, but what would you think he would say in regards to if he was complaining about this?
Probably would say that. What's the big deal? Because that's probably what we're all thinking right now. I don't know how big this radio station was. This is a music oriented thing. This isn't Man Cow or some rival like that. I don't really know how
New York market.
Yeah, are they in? It just seems like I've never really equated Howard Stern with a music kind of based show. I know he has musicians on, but
I think Britney Spears did the Jingle Ball, and I think. Maybe even Backstreet Boys or NSYNC or something, but I think it was one of those things like an iHeartRadio event. Like, you know what I mean?
Back in the day.
These radio shows get a cluster of these pop people of the time, and they make some money for the station because advertising and the way music was being digested was changing. So it was a good cash grab.
Yeah, absolutely. And a promotion, it's an event. You draw people, you interview them. It's also content. I mean, there's shitloads of reason to host these things. And you also have money that you're supposed to spend for a budget for this kind of stuff. So at any rate, him going on about this is just, like, it's funny. You hear, how many times did you hear me, my work, it's all about fucking him.
The competition. Does she know what I do for a living? That's my favorite. Does she
do you
know what I do for a living?
Yeah.
Do you know you're a father?
Did she know?
Right. I said, you don't understand something. For years. Thank you. I wish you were my shrink. I get nowhere.
Oh, now this is the other thing that makes me a little confused. At first, when they're talking about his shrink, they mention she as if it's a female. And he's gone for years with saying, if I don't have a female shrink, I'll seduce her. I don't want to have one. And then later on, he goes, my shrink, and he says he. Is it possible at the time they were doing couples counseling with one, and he had another one of his own?
Sure.
And that was, I think that's the only way that makes sense to me. Like if they were together sitting in on one couples counseling, and then he had his own on the side for his own purposes, just fucking bitch about what he just talked about in the marriage counseling session. So, yeah, okay. I just thought I was nuts. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misheard it, but you guys will judge.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I don't.
I do wish she was my wife. I'd marry her in a minute. If she would look at me sexually. What do I need to marry her for and then have her ignore me? I got that already.
Laugh at you.
Yeah. Oh, your penis is small.
What are you going to do with that?
Would have married you years ago if I didn't think you'd ridicule me.
She'd kill you.
All right. So, anyway.
Laugh and cut you right in half.
All right.
Oh, shut up. I'm cutting you right in half, right?
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
I can't. I almost feel like I should just walk away for the rest of this comment. I want to strangle him when I'm hearing this.
This is the one, and Bob definitely recommended this one because it's so. It really is one of the most awful, most uncomfortable segments I've ever heard on any radio, any format, anything, TV, reality television in my life. Because, and this is where you mentioned she does the gray rocking, which is basically says, I'm taking this off the air. You're not going to talk about this. Because you could hear her, the way you explain it, and then after hearing you talk about it in one of the earlier episodes, and then listening to it with different ears, she absolutely knew clinically what to do in this situation. And I was fascinated.
She sets up boundaries immediately and then essentially gray rocks until he's tuckered himself out. That's over,
Yeah. So let's keep going.
So, listen to this. So, she's running around the house looking for Jingle Ball tickets. And she's, my assistant, Laura, Jingle Ball, this Jingle Ball. And I'm sitting in my office, I'm like, Jingle Ball my ass.
Jingle Ball.
I'm just freaking out. But in a real way, I'm just going, because, you know what? I compete with radio stations for a living. That's how she gets to drive around in fancy cars.
If you didn't do... Jingle Ball would like to see you dead.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, everybody, when I mentioned earlier about how Robin is the absolute worst in this because she's in his fucking pocket the whole time. And if I were Alison, and I don't know that it happened, but if I were Alison, I would have written Robin off for this fucking conversation as well. Because she sometimes takes him to task, but most of the time she's on his side, and clearly he's taken his side in the divorce. Yes, Sam.
This is right up there when she said Artie called him a jerk. Oh, hey, jerk. And he never said that. So the whole conversation that was spun from that comment of Robin was a complete fucking lie. And she was baiting Howard and poking the bear. Yep.
And also, and then defends Howard vociferously during that whole thing. But then also, let's go with the Dee Snider call-in. When he not call-in, he actually comes into Sirius, and she attacks him like you've never seen anybody be attacked. Worse than Howard, because it's like, it's almost like he sent her in to do his dirty work. But he didn't. She did it actively without being told. No, I got to protect my meal ticket. Got to make sure he's happy. Don't. It's just like Beth in the Ablo thing. Don't fucking upset him, because you made him upset. Remember when we were talking about Bowie and John going out to do that weekend in the previous episode, when he said, "You got to know. Don't ask me. Don't make me be the bad guy. You know I don't want you to do it. When I say don't do it, when I say do it, or when I say it's okay, you got to know it's not okay.
It's not okay. You should know.
Exactly. So here we go.
Everyone at that Jingle Ball wishes I was dead because I'm the #1 goddamn disc jockey in the
Jingle
world.
Ball would like to kill you.
Yeah, and I'm just saying to myself, boy, this is awfully passive aggressive.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Oh, you know a lot.
What she's thinking about.
What do you think she's thinking about?
I'm hoping she's not thinking.
Well, do you think that people don't think? I think they do.
Yeah, Sam?
Okay, let's think about this in reality. One, he's a monolith of a DJ. Alison going to a Jingle Ball concert, which has a plethora of pop stars, isn't going to bring the radio station ratings. If he's going to talk about her going to the concert, then maybe people will tune in to see what the morning zoo says. They're not a talk radio. They're a music channel.
Music channel, exactly. And they, exactly. So really, he's kind of digging his own, he's hoist to his own petard here. He is drawing attention to something that he claims he wants to destroy.
I hate to say it, but I think even, when you say you're not thinking,
you're thinking.
It's just you're thinking.
Right. And you know what? I used to.
You don't want to know how horrible a person you are.
I know.
She's talking about Alison. She's saying that she inherently wants to go to this thing to fuck with you, Howard. That was what she was saying. She's saying that there are no accidents. Alison's doing this exactly to fuck with your head. And if I were Alison and I'm hearing this, I would tell Robin to fuck off. Bob?
See, here's the thing, and I'm not trying to be a devil's advocate here, but she definitely could have been doing that to fuck with him. And she didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
She didn't do, but that doesn't matter to them.
No.
She just knows if I start acting on my own and I don't have to go through him and make, beg to him and try to get him to call people, because they'll make you do that and they'll make you go through this ritual as well most of the time when they know that you want something. She's like, if I just go around him and I talk directly to all the people I know he's going to talk to, he's going to fucking hate it. And we're sitting here looking like, what's the big deal? You just saved him a call, because we don't think that way. We don't make everything about ourselves like he is. So she might have gone to that or at least the way that she did it, she might have done it to fuck with him a little bit. So
it's possible. Go ahead, Sam.
But Robin is basically saying Alison is directly doing this to challenge the competition in ratings of somehow that Z100 is in competition with them. Do they know who we were? Does she know this has nothing, by the way, nobody would know about this unless you brought this up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, the other thing, that's why I was bringing it up. I don't know how in direct competition that is with Howard. And the other thing is, again, just speaking as someone that's had some experience in, the music industry, and a lot of my friends are still in it, this type of thing isn't really that unusual. Like if there's different labels and they'll say, hey, my niece wants to come to the record release party, and then if you're super narcissistic, you'll go, well, how does that look? My niece is at a rival label's. There's a certain level that you reach where it's really not that big of a deal. People from rival movie studios go to other movie premieres. It happens, it's.
Yeah,
and
the other thing is, and this is I'm sorry. The thing was, I think everybody has their own opinion. I think Alison did this in spite of how he felt about it, but I don't think it was a conscious let's fuck with him. It was more like, I want to go there. And I'm going to ask him about this, because she says flat out, when you hear her on the clip, she'll say, I asked you, you had a chance to veto it or say I was upset. Never did. So we'll go into it.
Real quick, I think she's stopping. She's done playing his game. And when they see that they're no longer playing the game, they see their control is slipping, and that's why he's actually mad. It's not over the rival radio thing. That's just some talking point that he came up with, but he's mad because he's seeing his grip start to slip, and she's no longer playing the game and abiding by these contracts and rules that were never established to begin with.
Sure. Sam?
Also, too, you have to remember there was no Ticketmaster back then. So when concerts went out, especially with big pop groups, and I was his kid's age, the oldest one, during the time, if you wanted to see a popular band or whatever, you would have to wait in line overnight, get the lottery, then you'd have to, it was a whole process. So she just wants the fucking ticket.
Yeah.
For her kids.
Yeah.
I'm never thinking, but I'm thinking. What is it, Baba Boo?
You know, I could tell you something that a rumor that I heard that's going to make you nuts.
Go ahead.
What? You know, so we put in a ticket request, which is awful because all radio stations get tickets for all events.
Yeah.
It's a big concert and stuff. I think that we couldn't get tickets. You know, your wife had this request in for tickets, and nobody here wants to disappoint.
Right.
So I think that they bought the tickets from scalpers.
Oh my God! I'm so embarrassed.
So who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck if she got it from scalpers, first of all? And second of all, again, like you guys said, it's irrelevant to what they're doing on the air. It's music. He doesn't have any attachment to music. He has he could care less. He said it himself. I wanted to be more important than the music I was playing and the bands I was bringing in. It's all incidental after the, whole Dee Snider, let's change your image. Let's have the rock and roll guy. He thinks Jackson Browne is rock and roll. Sam.
So actually, Bowie just revealed the fact that this has nothing to do with competing for ratings for a radio station. It is completely personal.
Yeah.
First of all, you know what else? I don't want my wife asking the station for anything. I don't ask the station for anything. It's such a goddamn insult to me that my kids and my wife are over at the Z100. What about my kids? They don't know what I do for a living? My wife doesn't tell them?
Oh, fuck him. Yeah, Sam, you wanted to say?
I hope his kids just clean him the fuck out all the time. Take every penny. Don't leave $1 unturned.
I hope they release a book a quarter.
It's two different animals. Like, it's like me saying, I work for the Chicago Blackhawks. You know what it's like getting Bears tickets? You know how that looks? It's like they're different sports. They don't even really I guess they have some crossover, but it's completely different things here as far as I'm viewing it.
Great analogy.
I bust my balls.
You encourage them to listen to Z100.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care if they listen to the radio station. I'm not going to be some hard ass. But my wife, I'm not saying.
I guess.
I'm saying my wife. I mean, why?
He's so fucking befuddled. It's you can hear it in this. He doesn't know how to explain his real feelings, which is basically that he's you're right. She's bucking his control basically, and he can't fucking have that. So fuck her.
You don't like, by the way, that Alison spies and listens on you, right? You don't like it. They should be listening to other things. Why are you listening to me? Working out.
Yeah, how does that work out? The logic.
Well, I work my ass off to beat the pants off all these guys. Why would she do that to me?
That would be like General Lee's wife,
right,
to a Union ball.
Yeah, and getting upset about slavery or something.
You know what it is? It gives. I understand where you're coming from. And
did General Lee's wife say? General Lee was from the South, right? Did his wife go? Honey, maybe we should free the blacks? No,
and he didn't.
That's not something he believes in anyway. Sam,
what fucking type of analogy is this, by the way?
Fucking race, fucking slavery.
Narcissistic, tone deaf, stupid assholes. Robin, anytime he does dumb shit like this, when she piles on, to me is worse. I'm always like, you're worse.
Yeah.
Again,
you're not helping him. Her and Bowie, they have to tread very carefully. You'll hear it, and they talk about it themselves. They don't say it in as many words, but they do. But it's inadvertently, like it slips out.
Robin carries it. Bowie, yes. Bowie piggybacks it and mimics it. Robin carries it. She carries this shit.
Oh yeah.
To that ball to raise money to free the blacks.
Right.
So you know what this does?
Seriously. And it gives them fodder for on the air and all that.
Right. And now, and even off the air.
Right.
They could say, Howard Stern can be number one all he wants, but
hey,
his kids and wife love us.
Right.
His wife, his kids want to be over here.
Nobody would know. Nobody would fucking know if you didn't bring it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Pisses me off, but I didn't say nothing. I don't say anything anymore. I used to mouth off about everything, but now I just sit and I stew.
Is that good for you?
Nah, nothing's good for me. Yeah, I'll tell you what's good for me. You don't want to hear what's good for me.
Well, you said you brought this up to the shrink.
I'll tell you what's good for me.
You brought this up to the shrink, you said.
I did bring it up.
What did he say? Did he say?
I don't want to discuss it.
Did he?
Now it's he. So yeah, he's got two different shrinks. One for the marriage counseling and one for himself.
Didn't he say that you should? I mean, Robin's right. Do you think it's really good for you to just sit and let it fester?
No, he said. In fact, he said, I don't want to get into it.
What?
He was. Well, it's all about. He thinks that I'm.
Does he think you're
He thinks
wrong?
I'm a madman. Okay.
Does he think you're wrong for
Well,
thinking
you
the
know
way you
what?
do?
What?
Guess what? Only madmen get anywhere.
Right.
Where the hell is he?
Right.
Listen to that. Listen to that. Like feeding his fucking ego.
Bob,
Well,
what do you
I'm-
think about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Classic flying monkey stuff. And that's not, again, not a racial thing.
Not a racial thing, guys.
It's just, yeah, that's all that is. Spinning the truth that's going on in the current situation. Yeah, I mean, that's all that is. Here a qualified psychologist, or I don't know who he's seeing, is saying, dude, you're acting fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then Robin is telling him, this just woman who's certifiable herself is saying, no, you're good. It's like, no, dude, if you're a psychiatrist, whoever it is saying you're acting like a madman, like that's bad. Like that's somebody that you're sharing your inner thoughts with. Like, listen to him, dude. That's the guy to listen to.
Sam, you were looking at something. Did you find something you wanted to read?
Well, in the Psychology Today, if July 2nd, 2020, they said people with narcissistic personality disorder are generally unwilling to accept any responsibility for anything that they are doing, and they may make their spouse unhappy. They may lie, twist the truth, rewrite history, or shift blame and present themselves as the real victim. This is by Eleanor Greenberg, PhD, Understanding Narcissistic Personality Disorder.
Mm-hmm.
I had read, I found this on psychcentral.com. It was about 12 survival tips for living with a narcissist. And I won't read all of them. I won't read the gist of them, but I won't read them, detailed. But it's funny. Number one is study them, which is funny. Number two, call it out. It says most narcissists are proud of their own narcissism, citing it as the positive aspect of their personality. Statements like, careful, your narcissism is showing, done with a non-sarcastic tone, can be quite effective as long as the relationship is trusted and valued by the narcissist. That was something that either of them could definitely appreciate. Number three, understanding the abuse cycle. Number four, discern abuse tactics. They're playing a game. It says here, narcissists use their charm to draw others by asking a question about the other person. However, they frequently don't bother listening to the answer and often interrupt with a story about themselves. Instead of becoming angry, time this.
Bingo.
Play a game to see how quickly the topic changes and try to better the time with each engagement.
Oh my God.
Be wary of surprise gifts. Okay, and he doesn't give anything to anybody, so that one might be a
surprise stripper
Yeah.
gets a Mercedes.
This one is spelled incorrectly, but feed the ego. That's a sort of a repetition there. Reset expectations.
All I picture is like in Super Nintendo when like the game would fuck up and you'd have to like reset the game and blow on the thing before you plugged it back in.
There's a whole bunch. I won't go into them, but either way, I thought some of those were funny when you're talking about protecting yourself. Okay, let's keep going.
I'm fine.
Is that the point?
I don't know. And then I heard that like Steve Kingston had to go to Z100 personally and pick up the
Yeah,
tickets.
now you got to be making calls.
Yeah, now I owe Steve Kingston. I don't want to owe people. My wife doesn't get it. I don't want to owe anybody.
You don't have to owe anybody when you're Howard Stern in 1998, shithead. They do things for you when you tell them to. You ask them for this shit, you get it. And because you're worth millions and millions of fucking dollars to the station, they do it to make you happy. So you're not owing anybody, fuckhead. And you never. It's not like you paid anybody off that you did owe anyway.
Like it's a Sopranos episode. He's gonna fucking get a lead pipe to the knees by fucking Johnny Sack. If he
Do you think
get to
someone's gonna come and take his son's SUV?
Yeah, it's not a big ass.
No off-roading.
Tickets. It's not a huge thing. They didn't go and meet, Shania Twain, like come on stage and do a fucking song with her. It's just probably $40 tickets at the time. Like, I don't know. And I didn't even think about what Sam said. Like, I forgot about getting tickets during that time, and yeah, it was probably just more so just out of a convenience thing. Like, hey, can someone there just grab them for us? Like,
do you know
because
anybody?
I do remember that. I remember going. I don't know how I forgot about that, but you're totally right. You go and stand in line at wherever there was a ticket master, some random ass place.
And then you not only had to stand in line, you stood in line, you waited overnight to just get the lottery to then get the tickets. It was a double process thing. It was the biggest pain in the ass of your life to get anything back then.
You're right.
For like
you're
in
right.
teenage world.
Yeah, I didn't
Just
even think of that.
Off topic, but you just reminded me of a story. Florentine, he played a clip of him, audio him messing with the scalper, saying like, "Well, hey, dude, I got how much? Will you blow me for these Stones tickets?" Something like this. It was great. I wish I could find.
I used to love when he would do. He would talk about just completely gassing up an elevator and just like blaming it on Jim Norton or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway,
where's my wife?
John will get her on the phone.
Get her on the
Are
phone.
you finally ready to talk about it? I don't want to talk about it.
But Howard, when
now you don't want to talk about it.
When she gets on the phone right now, will she have any inkling at all that you're feeling this way?
I don't know. Don't ask me.
Will this be a huge surprise for her? A little angry about this?
But what you're going to hear.
Who are we going to ask? Don't ask me. Are we going to ask who? The fucking intern? Who do you want us to ask about this?
Yeah.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, exactly. That's healthy.
There is, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Because it isn't a big deal to anybody but us.
Yeah, she doesn't go into work every day and bust her balls. She's just spending my money.
Howard.
I mean, no offense.
Bye. I would fucking serve him at that moment. You know what I would do? I'd be like, guess what? I get the divorce papers quick. Have a server serve him on air.
Yeah, she's down right now at that moment. She's down at 2120 Jacoby and Myers, filing out fucking forms and saying, "Listen, I get everything, and in return, nobody gets to see the Polaroids of you blowing Ralph, and you're gonna take this."
Well, I'm not the spending the money part is not important to me.
My wife's probably on Imus this morning.
Oh no!
You know. It just kind of irked me a little bit because I do work so friggin' hard, and they reap all the benefits.
But why wouldn't you just say something?
Because I used to say.
Why wouldn't you want your family to be
better
happy
off
and reap the rewards of your labor? Why wouldn't you want your family to, as a unit, mutually succeed and thrive from the financial success you have? Why wouldn't you look at that as an integral part of happiness?
Well, this is just gaslighting. It's like he doesn't care about well, he does care. He's a cheap fuck, so he does care about the aspect that the ticket might cost $20, or an upgrade might cost more. But it's in his mind, it's more like it's you're not doing what I ask. He's just coming up with a bullshit excuse to get angry with her. What he's really angry with is that he doesn't want her going out. She says, it's earlier in the clip, we didn't play it, but at the end of it, she says, if I leave for a minute, he doesn't want to go out, but if I go out for a minute, he gets angry. And he goes he doesn't want me to ever enjoy my life.
She's showing autonomy, independence. She used some of his channels, which I think that was really the game
straw
changer. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where she started getting into the Beth thing, where she was going into premieres and stuff, and he didn't want to have to. It wasn't about embarrassment. It was just like, I'm not going to be able to enjoy myself with my wife around. This is separate. This is my work. They don't mix. And as soon as they start to mix, and as soon as she starts to go like, you know what, I am his wife. I don't mind being a little more front and center when it comes to this shit. He had a problem with it. And if you notice, and people will talk about it in the next episode, he talks about how long he's been with Beth, but he doesn't actually bring her up on the air until well into their relationship. And that's not because into their supposed relationship. And that's not because that was totally by design. That was, I don't even know who my beard is right now. I have to sort that out because he was still with Robin Givens at the timeline. But she claims, she told John Popper in his book that she claims that I'm his secret girlfriend. You're not supposed to know about this. And I'm like, why would someone who didn't want the help? Yeah, why would
Dominic
someone who didn't want the
Barbara
limelight say that? Go ahead.
Dominic Barbara said those were both people who didn't have sex with him. They were both just
Weird.
publicity stunts.
During the marriage thing to make it, like, for whatever reason, to make him look like a cocksman or something like that, or to cover up some other nefarious shit that involves semen and cocks. I don't know. I won't cast any aspersions. So let's keep going.
Then they get big argument.
Well, I don't know how you say it either.
Oh, I'll tell you how I say it.
Wait a minute.
I say, you're not going to that goddamn thing. Why don't you think about who I am?
No, that's the wrong
See,
thing.
I know how you feel about this because
Yeah.
we talk about this.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But I don't talk about it with my wife.
I don't know that anybody knows how
Yeah.
deeply you feel about
you
this
don't-
outside of here.
This woman traveled the country with me for 20 years.
I don't. It's not.
Okay.
Not the same.
Okay, yep.
Traveled the country with me, as Benjamin so astutely said in our private parts
Breakdown.
walkthrough.
Yeah.
She didn't travel the country with him. He just applied for jobs and as hired, fired, or better opportunity, took them and said, you better come.
Yeah.
She
had to
didn't
drop
have a
everything.
choice in any of it.
No.
So travel the country with him is a really nice way of saying, he
I
just
dragged
did
her.
this and I was married.
Yeah. She was like an appendage at that point.
Is knowing bottom line what it means.
But why does it always have? Why did you have to bring it up like that? Couldn't you say it in a?
No, I don't say. I'm sorry.
Frankly, if you really knew how Howard felt, would you ever bring it up?
Yeah. And believe me, she knows how I feel. I don't buy that she doesn't know how I
I
feel.
certainly wouldn't come in here and ask for jingle
Right.
ball tickets.
Right. Hi, honey.
Hi.
Hi, honey.
How was the concert last night?
Wonderful.
You had a great time?
I had a great time.
Yeah. Well, tell me all about it.
Howard, please. I'm really busy right now.
No, come on, honey. Tell me all about it. Tell my audience how the Z100 jingle ball works. And how-
Do you hear the tone in his voice? Very, very passive aggressive. There's no mistaking it.
He's goading her, and she's setting up boundaries. She's going, I had a good time. I don't want to go into this. He's like, no, let's do it. She's like, no, I'm not doing this. It's just boundaries. It's just no.
Yeah,
we're
and
not-
she knows his moves.
Yeah.
Bob, do you think that she's getting? I think she's going up above his mental game right now. Like, I think his passive aggressive, which would normally probably dominate this, is actually losing because she's saying it was great. And
that's
she's
why
doing better.
I think, and I'm just telling you honestly, I think she knew what she was doing. And I think that she knew that it was going to demonstrate to him that he's lost control. I think she knew it was going to drive him fucking crazy. She knew calling in. And I think she's just like, look, you're going to try your shit with me. You got me on the air. No, we're not doing this. I had a great time at this show, by the way. But yeah, we're not going to do this right now and laugh it off. She already knows everything that's coming. And she deals with it accordingly. She laughs it off.
Alison's like, suck my dick.
How did my children enjoy it?
They really enjoyed it.
Yeah, had a great time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I do for a living? What do you think I do for a living?
Stop it, Howard.
No, seriously.
No, don't talk to me like that.
I'm not allowed
Very
to?
condescending.
All right. But really,
What you need to say to me.
okay, don't you think it might, did it ever occur to you that it might bother me that I work every day and Z100 spends all day trying to beat me and that I'm in competition with another radio station, that it might be potentially embarrassing to me that my children and my wife?
Well, I don't think anybody there knew that I was going there.
Okay, yeah, Sam?
That's right. One, I don't think anyone knew I was going there. The only reason why they know is because you're currently bringing this up because it fucking burnt your ass. And she knew it was. So you're right, Bob. She probably knew it would fucking get him hot all fucking weekend. He comes in, brings this up, and now, perfectly played, this is the reaction. And she says, and Alison says, when he goes, do you know who I'm in competition with? Do you know who I'm in competition with? She is not taking that bait. And so he immediately kneels, bends the knee, because he doesn't even know where to go from there because she's not putting up with this shit.
She's changed the parameter. She's changed the parameters of the argument that they're going to have. She's decided, no, we're not playing your fucking game, you little twig, you stick insect. We're going to go it this way.
That's exactly what's happening.
No, you suck my dick, asshole.
Yep.
And that's exactly how she handled it.
Explain yourself here. I'm not fucking explaining anything. We're done here. We're not going into this.
Yeah.
Did you know that Steve Kingston had to go buy tickets for you from a scalper? And that I'm the one who has to pay for that? I mean, I don't mean with money. I mean with favors.
I was willing to pay for any tickets I got, Howard. Stop it.
No, but they feel, listen, when you call, they don't want to disappoint
No,
you.
they said to me, we don't think we can do it, and I said, fine.
But
I wasn't looking for anything.
I'm not,
I mean, if he had to buy tickets, then I'll certainly pay for the tickets. I wasn't looking for anything at all.
But I mean, you know,
The kids were interested in going, and that was it.
who was there that was so important? Shania Twain? I mean, I'm just curious. I don't know.
Listen,
I guess
if you have a problem with it, why don't we talk about it privately?
No, but I mean, it does bother.
I'll talk to you later.
It bothers me.
I'm really not interested. I'll talk to Steve and I'll pay him the money.
No, you don't have to pay. Don't pay him.
I'm not interested in this.
Oh,
I'm really not.
all right.
I'm really sorry. I'll talk to you another time.
Thank you. Okay.
Goodbye.
Now, that was masterfully played. She totally nullified the Kingston thing by saying, I'm going to pay him off, and I don't want to talk about this. And she totally shut him down. That was such an amazing takedown, and just said, I'm leaving. I'm fucking leaving the battlefield because this is not a war that can be won. Hence your expression, the term gray rocking, what you brought up in the previous episodes.
So what I want to make a note of when people listen to our next episode of Beth is one of the things I requested is when she calls in after she took a photo. I think the guy's name was Jared.
Yeah,
and
from Mom Caves.
I think King of All Blacks, I'm pretty sure, is a guy who Howard lets berate on air.
Yeah.
But just note the difference between those two calls because it's a very similar scenario where he's sort of got all the people in there. He's built a case. He's gotten everybody's temperature. They've all committed to his argument. And so then he calls Beth, and it's a very different result than what we just heard.
Absolutely. Sam?
I wish more people would masterfully take down Howard like this. Just enough. That's it.
Just enough to show him like when the animals show dominance and the other one's like submissive and you're like, oh no, we're just playing it, but you're the king. I know that. And if more guests did that, he wouldn't have any guests at all because he wouldn't be able.
Do you know what I do for a living? Yeah. Okay. Nothing there. You're getting nothing out of that. You're getting nothing. And then goodbye. We'll talk about it later. Goodbye.
She just said, we're not doing this right. That's what gray rocking is. It's where you don't even really have an emotional response.
Right.
It's called observing without responding. So, yeah, that's essentially what she did. She just was like, I'm not doing this. It's over.
And by doing that, she's also starving him of the attention that he needs. So by doing that, you're going to make him even more enraged, and ultimately, you won't win. There's no battle to be won with those fucking people. But Sam?
And think about how much and how long when people say, oh, she got so much or she got half, or they look at Alison maybe in like this leech sense of financials and whatnot.
Yeah,
think
because
about
of the way he's
how
painted.
long she had to deal with this to even get to the point where she so masterfully dismisses his bullshit.
A lot goes into that. And that takes a long time and a lot of suffering and a lot of abuse before you get to that point.
And possibly education in this case, because she knows exactly what she's dealing with before. Because as you said, Bob, NPD is quite a new thing in terms of psychology in relative terms. I mean, when you talk about the history of psychology and psychiatry, it's still very much it's young.
Sure. Yeah,
not the roots of it, but the conception of NPD and the covert versus overt.
And I think some people struggle with where you look at that and you go, okay, well, it's attention, but who would want that kind of attention where they're being aggressive or abusive? But the thing is that it doesn't matter to them. That it's attention. So it's like even if you starve them of negative attention is really the end of the end goal of what they want. So like if we're in a room or, I come into a room with you and I pull a gun on you, that's negative attention because you're like, is this guy going to shoot me? But The thing is I have your undivided attention. Like, I have acquired from you what I want, that supply. I have your undivided attention, and you're at my mercy. So they'll use that same kind of tactic in an argument, which is what he was trying to do to her here, but she completely gray rocked and just set up boundaries, whereas Beth has no boundaries, so he used to.
Yeah, it's not until way later in him and Beth's relationship where she starts to actually sort of challenge him on certain things, and she knows where she can bend him over the table. Sam, you wanted to say?
The thing that I truly noticed the most when we've been doing these is when you're reading in these articles, like you said, there are a lot of articles about NPD, but there are not a lot of resolutions or proven ideas of what works. There's some, but there's not that many actually like clinical, like, I guess to say, it just feels like an underdeveloped mental disorder that the people haven't really. They say, okay, here are some things to try, but we're not sure about what to do. It seems very indecisive.
Yeah.
So I think that just bringing attention to this and what you're saying, these are actually proven tactics as we're showing through these arguments and what you're saying that work. Because I feel like when you read all these articles, it's a lot of multiple choice of maybe this might work.
Right. How does it apply?
But we have no examples.
Exactly.
I'll tell anybody that's listening to this right now, the only thing that works is you gray rock them until you can get away from them and eliminate them completely. Don't allow them in partially. Don't allow them in halfway. Don't start a text conversation. They have to be eliminated from your life completely. That is the only tactic that works.
So complete withdrawal.
Yeah, it's referred to as no contact.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important because just in reading these articles, they give you maybe ideas that may work, not even proven. And there's no examples. So Bob is doing a really great service of just doing this, I think.
Isn't part of the reason because there are people with multiple diagnoses along the spectrum that don't fall neatly into one sort of shoehorned, like this is that person. Like some people, are classic textbook this and that. But then you said along the spectrum there are things that overlap in personality traits, in personality types, wherein you can't. There is no one solution fits all, except in except in this gray rocking situation method that you describe, in which it should, it's the only, as you said, it's the only solution.
Yeah, you're talking about cluster B personality disorders, which encompass histrionic, antisocial. There's a few other ones, maybe paranoid. I'm not completely sure, but definitely antisocial. Borderline is also in. Yeah, there is no real resolution, and they actually wind up getting worse over time, which is why I think we're seeing that again with Howard. When I listen to his shows now, it's like raw and filtered. I can't believe it's making it on air, to be honest with you. It is so fucking strange. And
it's a flea market of neuroses. Yeah, Sam.
I just thought about Bob the whole time when he was doing the Regis Philbin thing. I go, he can't even help himself.
No.
He can't. This guy died and he can't even fucking help himself from how insane he sounds.
I still have to listen to it, to be honest with you, because I was on vacation for this week, so I just got back yesterday actually, and either way.
Because I got yelled at.
How about those men?
That's so not a good idea.
That was not a good idea.
So not a good
but I didn't think it was a big controversial discussion. I just don't think.
But you know what it is?
Once again, it got mired in the wrong area. It had nothing to do with the money.
Plus, if she pays Steve, she's paying him with my money. So I don't want her to pay Steve.
It had nothing to do with the money.
Oh.
The truth is, you don't appreciate it. It seems like a lack of support.
Yeah, it's like the president of General Motors, his wife driving a Mercedes.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Howard, you might have been a little teeny bit condescending. Maybe
was I?
Maybe the angle you took. No,
the truth is.
Well, I know what the truth is, but sometimes it's how you say it.
The truth is that they start talking about issues other than the real issue.
Well,
Now that's Gary covering his bases. He doesn't want to get on Allison's bad side or Howard's. Doesn't want to go against him, but still wants to let it be known. Look, I didn't fully go down the fucking into the trenches with him like Robin did. Robin jumped on the grenade, and she lit it too. She ignited it. Sorry, you were going to say, Bob?
You know what's funny about that is he provides the perfect argument for what I was saying before with the Blackhawks and the Bears. You think the president of Ford's wife drives a fucking Ford? No, she drives a Mercedes.
Exactly.
And I can tell you here, I've talked to Sam about our star hockey player on the Blackhawks, Patrick Kane.
Kane, yeah.
Him and Jonathan Taves have a big, I think it's like a Chevy deal. They have these corny Chevy commercials. I know for a fact that Kane drives a Maserati because I've seen it before. Like, I've seen it downtown. Like, yeah, they don't drive Chevys, dude. Like,
right.
And it's not a big deal. It's just how it goes. Everybody knows, like, yeah, the president's wife isn't driving a Ford truck. She's driving a Mercedes probably, and it's not a big deal. It's just when you're at that level, that's just how things are,
But doesn't this also tie into the whole victimization? Like, that station is against me. They're the enemy. They're against me. Now my wife's against me. Like she's going to the fucking competition. No. And the other thing is, and it'll get brought up later in this clip, if you're number one, what do you give a fuck where she attends and who she thinks she attends? Because you should have the self-confidence to know that, well, I don't care where she goes. I'm number one. So fuck it. Who cares? Like, they can eat our fucking dust. And he doesn't take that. Like, he's not smart enough to get out of his own way, as we've said many times before. He doesn't craft these things very, very intelligently.
No.
Sam, you wanted to say? You look very pensive.
And it almost seems like I am pensive because I love taking in what both of you say. But it also strikes me as Robin is almost in panic speak, where it's like this build up, and then once she hung up, it's not a backtrack necessarily, but it's a maybe I should think about how I said this or what I said, which way she seems frantic to me.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, well, this is this exact same tone she had when we talked about it before about Bowie and John leaving to go to LA with taking the rest of the crew with them. She goes, "I'm upset because he's upset." And she is the nervous laughter. It's all there, and the fast and the sort of high pitch, sort of higher, haughty tone of voice. Like, Gary, you don't know what you're talking about. This is business, and in business, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. She just knows, if he's miserable, I'm going to be fucking miserable because I won't have to. I won't. At that point, they're still talking. She won't hear the fucking end of it. It's not like he's going to go confront his wife. He's going to go to Robin.
Too.
Yeah,
Well, that's her job. She's again, look it up online. Flying monkey. It goes with people that have NPD. But her job is to smooth things over, go along with him, paint the scenario. What just happened was Howard's wife called up and said, "Hey, I went to this thing. I did nothing wrong. You're a complete fucking prick. We'll talk later," and hung up. And like right now, he looks like an asshole. So like she's sitting there like, "Wow, that did not go."
You don't know. It's like we're in the trenches. What?
The trenches.
We're in the fucking trail. Like they're fighting mustard gas at K-Rock.
You're fucking lucky. You're the luckiest hole in broadcasting, honey.
She really is. I hate to say it, but Bob Levy's one shining moment where he said, if it wasn't for Howard Stern, she'd be saying, "Welcome to Popeye's Chicken."
She really is talentless.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. Our next bit, I'd love, and I'm going to reach out to people in the Ethernet, whatever the fuck. if anybody was ever in the audience for Robin's talk show test pilot, please, please, I will pay money for you to come on our show. I would love to know what it was like. And if you're going to bullshit, make a story, make it a good, entertaining story. I would love to have a copy of that fucking pilot. If anybody has a copy, any producers out there can wrangle that copy, please. We want to hear that.
I would literally kill to see that because of, a variety of reasons, but main one being this was the height of her fucking narcissism when it came to money, clout, her bullshit vegetation, trips, magnet ear, fat loss, green drink nonsense. I would kill to see that pilot.
Well, it predates it by a few years, but yeah, that was the time of the 60 Minutes piece Howard did, and in the summer where they didn't, they went with Tyra Banks' show instead of hers, and she was desperately trying to get her own fucking deal, right, her own show, and it flopped, and I would love to see that fucking train wreck. It would have been worse than the Fox pilots, which
probably.
Takes some doing. Anyway, let's continue.
The real issue.
Yeah, your real issue is that you don't want her going to other radio station events.
But she knows that.
No, she doesn't.
She doesn't?
Because now she thinks it's about the money.
Oh, no, it's not about the money.
But that's what she thought.
See, because you started piling into another area that really has nothing to do with the real area
I did?
of concern. Yes.
Oh.
Tell me the truth. I gotta know. How do you walk in the door?
What are you talking about? That's such a controversial discussion whether my wife should go to the Jingle Ball?
No, I'm saying that.
Okay, Sam?
She said, she thinks it's about the money. Yeah, because Howard just said, you're using my money. I'm going to have to owe him back. I'm going to have to do a favor. It's not about the money. Alison knows it's not about the money, but he says that just to belittle her, to show that her value isn't worth much because she's not the one being a breadwinner. So that's the only reason why the money issue was brought up.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bob?
It wasn't a conversation about her going to the money ball. He's saying she's a piece of shit that spends all his money while he slaves away. Like, did he just forget that? Like, that's a pretty serious accusation. No, they always forget. It's just like, you just, that's why you never win. It's like, no,
you know what? You know what it reminds me of? Tetris. When, say, pretend Tetris, and the blocks just start piling on, you almost start forgetting how the last thing outrageous that they said, and the blocks just keep piling until they build up to the top and you're done. Because that's how often it happens and how quick it happens. The blocks fall. If you don't place them right, you're going to lose it. And so that just keeps piling.
Yeah, his opening line was, "Do you know what I do for a living?" What's he saying there? How fucking stupid are you? How ignorant.
That's a square you couldn't fit into a smaller square, son.
Okay.
Boom.